Hello everyone and welcome. This is Naruto speaking. We have handpicked a wonderful story for today. What if Naruto was summoned as the legendary sage hero, the 6th cardinal warrior Naruto x Raphtalia x Filo? New videos drop regularly, so subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated. And don't forget to like if you enjoy the story. Shall we begin? Here goes. Chapter 1. A sage among heroes. Blue light flashed through a massive chamber, ancient stone columns stretching toward a domed ceiling where crystal chandeliers swayed. The summoning circle pulsed with energy, runes glowing brighter with each passing second. King Altcray Melromark XXXII leaned forward on his gilded throne, his massive beard nearly touching his knees. The ritual is reaching its peak. We will soon welcome our 4 cardinal heroes. Pope Biscas T. Balmus nodded, his ornate robes rustling as he studied the circle. All preparations are perfect, Your Highness. The legendary weapons will choose their wielders. The light surged to blinding intensity, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When it faded, 5 young men stood disoriented in the center of the room. 5, not 4. What is the meaning of this? The king bellowed, rising from his throne. Count them again. The circle of mages frantically consulted their tomes. The ritual was flawless, Your Majesty. We don't understand. Among the summoned heroes stood a blonde-haired young man in an orange and black jacket, his headband gleaming with a spiral leaf symbol. While the others clutched legendary weapons, a sword, spear, bow, and shield, he held only a small, unassuming scroll. Naruto Uzumaki blinked away the dizziness, instinctively reaching for a kunai that wasn't there. What the hell? Where am I? He scanned the ornate chamber, noting the armed guards and the tension crackling through the air. A pompous official stepped forward. Welcome, Cardinal Heroes. You have been summoned to save our world from calamity. Heroes? Summoned? Naruto's mind raced. Listen, I was just having ramen with Kakashi-sensei. You can't just yank people across dimensions without asking. The official ignored him, continuing his rehearsed speech. You 4 have been chosen to wield the legendary weapons and, there are 5 of us, interrupted the young man with the shield, his dark hair falling across suspicious eyes. The chamber erupted into confused murmurs. The king descended from his dais, his elaborate robes billowing around him. This is impossible. The prophecy speaks of 4 cardinal heroes, not 5, he growled, pointing a trembling finger at Naruto. Who are you? What weapon do you possess? Naruto held up the small scroll in his hand. He hadn't been holding it before the summoning, but somehow it had appeared, bound to his right hand. This thing? It's just a scroll. A scholar rushed forward, adjusting spectacles as he examined the item. Your Majesty. The status magic identifies him as, the Sage Hero. The scroll is registered as the legendary Sage Scrolls. Impossible, the Pope hissed. The texts mention only sword, spear, bow, and shield. There is no Sage Hero. Naruto tried channeling chakra into the scroll, and it responded by unfurling slightly, revealing blank parchment that glowed with faint blue energy. Hey, this thing reacts to my chakra. Chakra? The scholar's eyes widened. The ancient power? How could he? The king slammed his scepter against the floor. Enough. We will proceed with the 4 true heroes. This anomaly will be dealt with later. The official nervously continued his speech, explaining about waves of calamity threatening their world, and how the 4 cardinal heroes were needed to combat this threat. Throughout the explanation, Naruto noticed how the king and nobles kept shooting him suspicious glances. So basically, you kidnapped us to fight your battles? Naruto crossed his arms. And now you're acting like I'm the problem because your ritual brought one too many? Watch your tone, a red-haired princess snapped from beside the throne. You stand before King Altcray Melromark XXXI. The heroes were then introduced to status magic, receiving gemstone accessories that displayed their attributes like a video game. When Naruto received his, the nobles gasped. Level 75 class, Sage Hero Weapon, Legendary Sage Scrolls Skills, Unknown, 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 Level 75. The Spear Hero, a young man with confident eyes and a ponytail, stared in disbelief. We're all level 1. How is that possible? Naruto shrugged. Beats me. Where I come from, we don't have levels. The king ordered the heroes separated and given resources. The 4 recognized heroes were assigned parties and funding. Naruto, meanwhile, was pulled aside by a nervous minister. Sage Hero, the man began hesitantly, the kingdom cannot officially recognize your status. You will receive minimal support until the matter is investigated. So I get dumped in your world and now you're cutting me off. Naruto scowled. Real classy. Your presence disrupts prophecy itself. Be grateful we don't imprison you outright. After the others departed with their new parties, Naruto found himself alone in the castle courtyard with a small pouch of coins and basic supplies. The scroll remained bound to his hand, impossible to remove completely though he could set it down temporarily. Guess I'm on my own, he muttered, stepping into the bustling streets of the capital. Wouldn't be the first time. The city of Melromark sprawled around him, medieval buildings rising alongside magical shops glowing with enchanted items. Naruto wove through crowded markets, getting a feel for this new world. Merchants hawked potions and weapons while adventurers boasted of monster kills. His eyes landed on a peculiar shop tucked between larger establishments. A weathered sign read Elhart's Weapons and Armor. Inside, a brawny man with a scarred face hammered away at glowing metal. Hey there. I need some info, Naruto called out. The blacksmith looked up, eyebrow raising at Naruto's unusual clothing. Not from around here, are ya? Name's Elhart. Naruto Uzumaki. And no, definitely not from around here. He held up the scroll. Know anything about this? Elhart's eyes widened. That's a legendary weapon. But there are only 4. Yeah, apparently I'm breaking all the rules. Naruto grinned. They're calling me the Sage Hero. Never heard of a Sage Hero before, Elhart mused, stroking his beard. But those weapons choose their wielders for a reason. What can it do? Naruto channeled chakra into the scroll again. This time, it unfurled further, the blank parchment glowing brighter. Not sure yet. But it seems to react to my energy. As he held it near one of Elhart's daggers, the scroll suddenly absorbed the weapon, its image appearing on the parchment before fading. A notification appeared in Naruto's vision, basic dagger absorbed. Sage Scroll Technique, Manifest Dagger unlocked. What the, it ate your dagger. It what? Elhart lunged forward. Naruto quickly concentrated on the scroll, willing the dagger to return. To his surprise, the scroll glowed and the exact dagger materialized in his other hand. That's incredible, Elhart whispered. The legendary weapons can copy and transform, but yours seems to absorb and reproduce items completely. Sorry about that, Naruto handed the dagger back. I'll figure out how to control it better. Elhart waved him off. Don't worry about it. But listen, if you're really a cardinal hero, even an unexpected one, you should know something. He lowered his voice. The kingdom isn't telling you everything. There's politics at play, especially regarding demi-humans. Demi-humans? People with animal features. They're treated like dirt in Melromark, especially by the church. If you're outside the system, watch your back. Naruto nodded solemnly. Thanks for the warning. Any suggestions on where I should start? You'll need allies, for one. The other heroes got parties, but you're alone. In your shoes, I'd check the slave trader. Slave trader? Naruto's eyes hardened. This place has slaves. Elhart grimaced. It's legal here, especially for demi-humans. Not saying it's right, but if you need someone trustworthy who can't betray you. Naruto's face darkened. Where's this slave trader? The large tent stank of unwashed bodies and fear. Cages lined the walls, filled with broken-looking people, many sporting animal ears, tails, or scales. A fat man in expensive clothing greeted Naruto with a too-wide smile. A customer. And by your unusual attire, perhaps someone of unique taste. The slave trader bowed dramatically. What sort of merchandise interests you today? Strong males for labor. Females for companionship. Naruto's stomach turned, but he kept his expression neutral. Just looking. I need someone who can fight. Ah, an adventurer. Right this way. They passed cages of dejected slaves until stopping before a small cage in the corner. Inside huddled a girl with raccoon ears and a matted tail. Despite her filthy appearance, Naruto could see fierce eyes tracking his every move. This one has potential, the trader said. A Tanuki demi-human, young but strong. Previous owner died in a monster attack. With proper motivation, she'll become a fine warrior. Naruto crouched down, meeting the girl's gaze. Hey there. I'm Naruto. What's your name? She stared back silently, ears flattening. She doesn't speak much, the trader explained. But the slave seal ensures obedience. Want to see? Before Naruto could object, the man activated something on a crystal. The girl screamed, collapsing as purple lines glowed across her chest. Electricity seemed to dance across her skin. Stop it. Naruto grabbed the trader's wrist, squeezing until the man yelped and dropped the crystal. What the hell is wrong with you? It's just demonstration of the product's features, the trader protested, yanking his hand away. How else would you know the seal works? Naruto turned back to the girl, who now stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. Are you okay? To his surprise, she nodded slightly. What's your name? He asked again, gentler this time. Raphtalia, she whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. Nice to meet you, Raphtalia. Naruto smiled warmly. Listen, I'm new around here, and I could use some help figuring things out. Would you be willing to join me? Confusion crossed her face. I don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice, Naruto replied firmly. I'm asking if you want to. The trader laughed nervously. That's not how slavery works, sir. You purchase her, you own her. Her wants are irrelevant. Naruto ignored him. Raphtalia, if you come with me, I promise you won't be treated like a slave. I need an ally, not property. Hope flickered in her eyes, quickly replaced by suspicion. Why would you treat a demi-human like that? Where I come from, we judge people by their actions, not their appearance. Naruto extended his hand through the bars. I can't promise it'll be safe, but I can promise you'll be free. After a moment's hesitation, Raphtalia reached out, her small hand touching his. Okay. Excellent. The trader clapped. For this fine specimen, with the slave seal already installed, that will be 3 gold pieces. Naruto counted out his meager funds. I have 1 gold and some silver. Not nearly enough. Though, for a uniquely dressed foreigner such as yourself, perhaps we can make arrangements. That unusual scroll you carry, for instance, not for sale. Naruto's eyes hardened. 1 gold is my offer. Impossible. I couldn't possibly. Naruto subtly channeled chakra, letting a hint of the Ninetales energy flicker in his eyes. I said, 1 gold is my offer. The trader paled. 1 gold is acceptable. After the transaction, the trader handed Naruto a crystal. The slave crest control. With this, you can punish disobedience or even kill her if necessary. Naruto took the crystal, studied it for a moment, then crushed it in his hand, grinding the fragments to dust. Won't be needing this. The trader's jaw dropped. You fool. Without the control crystal, the slave crest is worthless. Good. Naruto helped Raphtalia out of the cage. Because I didn't buy a slave. I bought her freedom. As they left the tent, Raphtalia stared at Naruto in disbelief. You destroyed the crystal. Why? Because nobody should control another person like that. He smiled down at her. Now, let's get you some food and new clothes. Then we can figure out how to remove that seal completely. Raphtalia's eyes welled with tears. I don't understand. Why help me? Because it's the right thing to do. Naruto shrugged. And because where I'm from, the strongest bonds come from choice, not force. At a small inn on the city's edge, Naruto waited while Raphtalia bathed and changed into the simple clothes he'd purchased. When she emerged, the difference was striking. Clean and properly dressed, she appeared less like a frightened animal and more like the young girl she was, perhaps 12 or 13, with chestnut hair and intelligent brown eyes. Better? Naruto asked, setting down a plate of food before her. Raphtalia nodded, staring at the meal with wide eyes. I haven't seen this much food in a long time. Eat up. You'll need your strength. She devoured the food with desperate speed, and Naruto quietly ordered a second portion when she finished. So, he said as she started on the new plate, I should explain my situation. I'm not from this world. I was summoned as something called the Sage Hero, except nobody expected me and they're not happy about it. Raphtalia paused her eating. You're a Cardinal hero. But there are only 4. Apparently I'm number 5. And my weapon is this. He held up the scroll. It absorbs things and lets me reproduce them later. To demonstrate, he touched the scroll to a fork. The utensil vanished, its image briefly appearing on the parchment. With a thought, Naruto made an identical fork materialize in his hand. Raphtalia's eyes widened. Amazing. But why didn't the king give you companions like the other heroes? They don't trust what they don't understand. And I didn't exactly make a great first impression. Naruto grinned. I've got a habit of challenging authority when they're being stupid. That earned a tiny smile from Raphtalia. So what will you do now? First, get that slave mark off you. Then figure out how to navigate this world and deal with these waves everyone's worried about. Naruto leaned forward. But I could use someone who knows this world. Would you be willing to help me? As a partner, not a slave. Raphtalia hesitated, then nodded firmly. Yes. I want to become stronger. My village was destroyed by the first wave. I lost everyone. If you're fighting the waves, I want to help. Then we'll get stronger together. Naruto held out his hand, and after a moment, Raphtalia shook it. Partners. The next morning, they visited a magic shop run by a short, elderly woman who examined Raphtalia's slave seal with a critical eye. Removal is possible, but expensive, she said, adjusting her spectacles. It requires rare materials. What would it cost? Naruto asked, mentally counting his dwindling funds. The old woman named a sum that made Naruto wince. However, she added, studying his scroll, I might consider a trade. That weapon of yours appears to absorb items. If you could copy some of my rarer components. Naruto grinned. Now we're talking. After testing the scroll's capabilities and confirming it could reproduce magical components with perfect fidelity, they struck a deal. The old woman prepared a complex ritual, drawing arcane symbols around Raphtalia. This will hurt, she warned. Raphtalia nodded resolutely. I can handle it. The ritual began, magic circles glowing around the slave crest. Raphtalia gritted her teeth as the mark began to burn and distort. She refused to scream, though tears leaked from her clenched eyes. Naruto knelt beside her, taking her hand. "You're doing great. Just a little longer." Finally, with a flash of light, the slave crest shattered. Raphtalia gasped, touching the unmarked skin where it had been. "It's gone. You're completely free now," the shopkeeper confirmed. "No magical bindings, no compulsions." Raphtalia looked at Naruto, wonder in her eyes. "I can go anywhere. Do anything." "That's right," Naruto nodded. "So, what's your choice? Still want to partner with me?" Without hesitation, Raphtalia stood tall. "Yes. You freed me when no one else would. I'll follow you because I choose to." Outside the shop, Naruto faced a new problem. "We need weapons and supplies, but we're running low on money." "We could take a quest from the guild," Raphtalia suggested. "That's how adventurers make money here." The Adventurers Guild occupied a massive stone building near the city center. Inside, bulletin boards displayed countless quests with attached rewards. Naruto scanned the notices while Raphtalia nervously kept her ears hidden beneath a hood. "Why are you hiding?" Naruto asked. "Demi-humans aren't welcomed in places like this," she whispered. "They might throw us out." Naruto frowned. "That's not right. You shouldn't have to hide who you are. Please, it's easier this way. Hey, you." A burly adventurer approached. "Something odd about your friend. Pull down that hood, girl." Before Raphtalia could comply, Naruto stepped between them. "She doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to. We don't serve demi-humans or their sympathizers here," the man growled, drawing attention from nearby tables. "You don't serve heroes either." Naruto pushed back his jacket, revealing the scroll attached to his wrist. The adventurer hesitated. "You're a Cardinal hero. But they're all already registered. I'm the Sage hero. Got a problem with me or my partner?" Whispers spread through the guild. Some people backed away, while others moved closer out of curiosity. A guild official hurried over. "Sir, please forgive the misunderstanding. We weren't informed of a fifth hero." "Well, I'm here, and Raphtalia is my partner. That going to be an issue?" The official glanced nervously at Raphtalia's poorly hidden ears, then at the growing crowd. "And no issue at all. Please, what quest were you interested in?" Naruto selected a monster hunting job outside the city. As they left the guild, Raphtalia whispered, "You shouldn't have done that. Now everyone will know about me." "Good," Naruto replied firmly. "I'm not going to pretend my friend is something she's not just because some people are prejudiced." Raphtalia stared at him in wonder. "No one's ever stood up for me like that." "Well, get used to it." He grinned. "Now let's get you a weapon. Can't be partners if you can't fight." At Elhart's shop, the blacksmith greeted them warmly. "The Sage hero returns. And with company, I see. This is Raphtalia, my partner." Naruto emphasized the last word. "We need to get her equipped." Elhart sized up Raphtalia with a professional eye. "Something light but effective, I think. How about a short sword to start?" He presented several options, and Raphtalia tentatively selected a well-balanced blade. Naruto touched his scroll to the remaining weapons, absorbing their properties. "The scroll grows stronger with each weapon it absorbs," he explained, noticing new techniques appearing in his status menu. "And now I can teach you proper swordplay. You know how to use a sword?" Raphtalia asked. "I've trained with pretty much every weapon in my world. Part of being a ninja." "A ninja?" Elhart raised an eyebrow. "Where I come from, ninjas are warriors who use special techniques." Naruto created a shadow clone, causing both Raphtalia and Elhart to jump back in shock. "Like that? There's two of you!" Raphtalia exclaimed. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto explained as the clone waved before dispelling. Just one of many techniques I know. That wasn't magic, Elhart said, eyes wide. At least, not like any magic I've seen. It's called chakra. And speaking of techniques. Naruto held up his scroll, which glowed blue. I think I'm figuring out how this weapon works. It doesn't just copy items, it learns from everything it touches. To demonstrate, he touched the scroll to a nearby whetstone. Rather than absorbing the item, the scroll glowed briefly, and a notification appeared, sharpening technique acquired. Apply to weapons for increased cutting power. This thing is basically designed for someone like me, Naruto grinned. A sage learns from the world around them and adapts. That's exactly what this scroll does. After purchasing armor for Raphtalia and additional supplies, they headed out for their first quest. The target, a nest of two-headed dogs plaguing nearby farms. In a forest clearing, Naruto began Raphtalia's training. First, proper stance. Balance is everything. He demonstrated, then corrected her form. Good. Now, I'm going to show you something most people here probably don't know about. What's that? How to use your life energy, what I call chakra. Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. Everyone has it, but few learn to control it. Close your eyes and feel the energy flowing through you. Raphtalia obeyed, her face scrunched in concentration. Don't force it, Naruto advised. Just be aware of it, like the blood in your veins or air in your lungs. After several minutes of guidance, Raphtalia gasped. I feel something. Like, warm water under my skin. That's it. Naruto beamed. Most people here use magic crystals for power, but chakra comes from within. It'll make you faster, stronger, and more aware than anyone who relies on external items. Their training continued until sunset, when they made camp. As night fell, Raphtalia grew visibly nervous. What's wrong? Naruto asked, stoking their small fire. I'm afraid of the dark, she admitted quietly. Ever since the wave, when the monsters came at night. Naruto considered this, then created 3 shadow clones. Problem solved. They'll keep watch all night. Nothing's getting near us without me knowing. Raphtalia relaxed slightly. How many of those can you make? Naruto shrugged. Thousands, if I need to. Thousands? Her eyes widened. But even the strongest mages can only create a few familiars. I've always had a lot of chakra, Naruto explained. Plus, I have a special source of power. What do you mean? Naruto hesitated, then decided on honesty. Where I come from, I have a powerful being sealed inside me. A 9-tailed fox spirit called Kurama. We're partners now, but it took years to reach that point. You have a monster inside you. Raphtalia edged away slightly. Not a monster. A being with thoughts and feelings, just misunderstood. Naruto smiled gently. Kind of like how some people see demi-humans here, right? Raphtalia considered this, then nodded slowly. I think I understand. Good. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow, we hunt those 2-headed dogs. They found the monster nest shortly before noon, a cave reeking of blood and rot. Naruto knelt at the entrance, examining tracks. At least 5 adults, he whispered. Stay behind me, but be ready. Remember your training. Raphtalia nodded, sword gripped tightly in trembling hands. They hadn't gone far when growling echoed through the cave. 2 massive dogs bounded toward them, each head snapping with razor teeth. Naruto stepped forward, scroll unfurling. Sage scroll technique, manifest blade. A sword materialized in his hand, glowing with blue energy. The first dog lunged. Naruto sidestepped with inhuman speed, slicing through its flank. The beast howled, turning for another attack, only to find Naruto gone, having leaped overhead to land behind it. Now, Raphtalia. Just like we practiced. To her credit, Raphtalia didn't freeze. She dashed forward, channeling chakra to her legs just as Naruto had taught her. The boost in speed caught the injured dog off guard, allowing her to drive her sword into its side. Good. Naruto called, engaging the second monster. Finish it. With newfound confidence, Raphtalia pulled her blade free and struck again, this time hitting a vital spot. The dog collapsed, both heads going limp. Naruto, meanwhile, had already dispatched his opponent with brutal efficiency. You did great, he praised. How do you feel? Raphtalia stared at her bloodied sword, then at the fallen monster. I wasn't afraid. I actually did it. Of course you did. You're stronger than you know. Naruto squeezed her shoulder. There are more deeper in. Ready to continue? They fought their way through the cave, Naruto purposefully letting Raphtalia take the lead against weaker opponents. With each victory, her confidence grew, her movements becoming more fluid and decisive. When they finally reached the nest's heart, they found a dog twice the size of the others, its four heads snarling in unison. Alpha of the pack, Naruto murmured. This one's dangerous. The monster charged, faster than its size suggested possible. Naruto pushed Raphtalia aside, taking the brunt of the attack. Sharp teeth sank into his arm, drawing blood. Naruto! Raphtalia cried. I'm fine. He twisted free, jumping back to create distance. This one's tougher than it looks. Time to stop holding back. Naruto formed a hand sign, focusing his chakra. The air around him shimmered as his eyes changed, gaining a golden tint with horizontal pupils like a toad's. Sage mode, he announced, his voice deeper, more resonant. The alpha lunged again, but this time Naruto simply stepped aside, its massive bulk passing harmlessly by. Before it could turn, Naruto struck its flank with an open palm. The seemingly gentle blow sent the monster crashing into the cave wall with bone-shattering force. Whoa, Raphtalia whispered, watching as Naruto systematically dismantled the creature with precise, devastating strikes. Within moments, the alpha lay dead, and Naruto's eyes returned to normal. That's all of them. Mission complete. As they collected proof of their kills, Raphtalia couldn't stop staring at Naruto. What was that? Your eyes changed, and you became so much stronger. Sage mode lets me draw in natural energy and add it to my own chakra, Naruto explained. It enhances everything, strength, speed, senses. Can I learn it? Maybe someday. First, you need to master basic chakra control. He ruffled her hair affectionately. But you're a quick study. I'm impressed by how fast you're learning. Raphtalia beamed at the praise. It's because I have a good teacher. On their return to the city, they passed a farmer's market where Naruto stopped to purchase food. While examining fruits, he overheard nearby conversations mentioning the shield hero. They're saying he assaulted the princess, a merchant whispered to his neighbor. Royal knights are hunting him now. Shield hero? Naruto interrupted. The guy with dark hair from the summoning? The merchants eyed him suspiciously. What's it to you? I was summoned with him. I'm the sage hero. Recognition dawned in their eyes. The fifth hero? The one with the scroll. We heard rumors. What exactly are they saying about the shield hero? According to the gossip, the shield hero, Naofumi, had allegedly attempted to assault Princess Malti during their first night as companions. Now disgraced, he'd fled the castle with nothing but his shield. That doesn't sound right, Naruto frowned. He seemed standoffish, but not the type to do something like that. The princess herself made the accusation, one merchant insisted. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Maybe. Or maybe someone's playing politics. Back at their inn, Naruto shared what he'd learned with Raphtalia. Something feels off about this whole situation. The shield hero gets the worst treatment at the summoning, then gets accused of a crime right after. Too convenient. What will you do? Raphtalia asked. Find him. If he's innocent, he could use allies. If he's guilty. Naruto shrugged. Well, I'll know when I meet him face to face. I've gotten pretty good at spotting liars. They spent the next day asking discreet questions throughout the city, eventually learning that Naofumi had been seen at the cheapest inn in the slums district. The building they found barely qualified as shelter, a leaning structure with broken windows and a stench of mildew. Inside, Naruto approached the surly innkeeper. I'm looking for the shield hero. The man spat on the floor. Don't know any heroes here. Naruto dropped a silver coin on the counter. How about now? Room 4. But he ain't friendly to visitors. Upstairs, Naruto knocked on a weathered door. Naofumi. It's Naruto, from the summoning. Silence, then, go away. Not happening. We need to talk. After a moment, the door cracked open, revealing a haggard face with distrustful eyes. What do you want? Come to mock the criminal shield hero? Actually, I came because I don't believe you did it. Naofumi's eyes widened slightly before narrowing again. Why should I trust you? You're probably working with the others. I'm working with exactly one person. Naruto gestured to Raphtalia. And the kingdom isn't exactly fond of either of us either. Can we come in? After a tense moment, Naofumi stepped back, allowing them entry. The room was sparse and dirty, with a single bed and no other furniture. So, Naruto began, leaning against the wall, want to tell me what really happened? Naofumi's story poured out in bitter fragments, how Princess Malti had volunteered to join his party, drugged his drink, stolen his equipment, and falsely accused him of assault. With the king already prejudiced against the shield hero, Naofumi had been immediately condemned without investigation. Now I'm broke, powerless, and hated throughout the kingdom, he finished, gripping his shield in white-knuckled frustration. The other heroes won't even hear my side. I believe you, Naruto said simply. Naofumi looked up sharply. Why? Because I know what it's like to be falsely accused. Where I come from, I was hated for years because of something I had no control over. Naruto sat beside him. Plus, that princess struck me as the scheming type right from the start. Raphtalia stepped forward. If Naruto believes you, then I do too. Naofumi stared at them both, clearly struggling with the concept of trust. What do you want from me? Nothing, Naruto replied. Just offering an alliance. 5 outcasts against the world sounds better than 4 against 1, right? 5. You, me, Raphtalia, and... Naruto produced a large egg from his pack, which he'd purchased earlier that day from a mysterious merchant. Whatever's in here. The trader said it was special. The egg was warm to the touch, its shell decorated with intricate patterns. Naofumi studied it with his shield, which provided analysis abilities. It's a filolial egg, he reported. Some kind of giant bird monster that pulls carriages. Rare specimen. See. Already benefiting from our alliance. Naruto grinned. So, partners? Naofumi hesitated, then slowly extended his hand. Partners. But I'm not letting my guard down. Wouldn't expect you to. Now, let's talk strategy. The first wave is coming soon, and we need to be ready. As they planned late into the night, none of them noticed the egg beginning to pulse with a soft, rhythmic light. Morning brought unexpected developments. The egg, which Naruto had kept warm against his chest while sleeping, had developed cracks along its surface. It's hatching. Raphtalia exclaimed, watching the shell fragment further. With a final crack, the egg split open, revealing a fluffy, cream-colored bird the size of a large chicken. It blinked huge blue eyes at Naruto, then chirped happily and launched itself at his face. Gah! Naruto toppled backward as the bird nuzzled against his cheek. Hey, easy there. Q, the bird chirped, settling contentedly on his chest. Naofumi, despite his general grimness, couldn't suppress a smirk. Looks like you've been chosen as its parent. Great, Naruto muttered, though he gently stroked the bird's soft feathers. What exactly do philolials eat? Everything, according to my shield. And they grow quickly. True to Naofumi's words, by evening the bird had doubled in size, and by the following morning, it stood taller than Raphtalia. Its intelligence seemed to grow with its body, as it soon began responding to commands and even attempting to mimic human speech. Filo, it chirped, looking at Naruto. Filo. Is that your name? Naruto asked. Filo. The bird nodded enthusiastically, wings flapping. Filo. Master. Raphtalia giggled. She's calling you master. Just call me Naruto, he told the bird, feeling uncomfortable with the title. We're friends, not master and pet. Naruto, Filo practiced, her pronunciation surprisingly clear. Filo likes Naruto. With their unusual party assembled, they began taking on increasingly difficult quests. Naofumi focused on defense and support, his shield growing stronger with each material it absorbed. Raphtalia continued developing her swordsmanship and chakra control, while Filo provided transportation and surprising combat prowess with her powerful kicks. Naruto, meanwhile, explored the capabilities of his sage scrolls. Beyond absorbing and reproducing items, he discovered they could store techniques themselves. After touching a mage's spellbook, the scrolls gained the ability to cast basic magic. Contact with monster parts unlocked special abilities related to those creatures. During one quest in a forest far from the capital, they encountered unexpected company, a group of adventurers led by the spear hero, Motoyasu, with Princess Malty at his side. Well, Malty sneered when she spotted them. The criminal shield hero and the anomaly sage. Birds of a feather, I see. Motoyasu pointed his spear at Naofumi. You've got nerve showing your face in public after what you did. Before Naofumi could respond, Naruto stepped forward. And you've got nerve believing her lies without question. How dare you? Malty gasped. Sir Motoyasu, this savage is insulting royalty. Motoyasu adjusted his grip on his spear. Apologize immediately, or face the consequences. I've faced worse consequences before breakfast, Naruto replied calmly. But if you want to make this physical, I'm game. Wait, Naofumi intervened. We didn't come here to fight other heroes. The waves are the real enemy. Wise words from the shield hero, came a new voice. From the trees emerged an elegant man in ornate robes, his long hair tied back. Fighting among Cardinal heroes serves no one but our enemies. Lord Reignat, Malty acknowledged stiffly. This is hero business. Your interference is unwelcome. When heroes quarrel on my lands, it becomes my business. The nobleman bowed slightly. I am Lord Reignat, governor of this region, and I extend my hospitality to all Cardinal heroes equally. Despite Malty's objections, Reignat insisted they join him for dinner at his manor, all heroes and their companions. The resulting meal was a tense affair, with Malty glaring daggers across the table and Motoyasu clearly uncomfortable with the situation. During conversation, Naruto learned that Lord Reignat was unusual among Melromark's nobility for his progressive stance on demi-human rights. The prejudice is deeply rooted in our history, Reignat explained when they spoke privately after dinner. The Church of the Three Heroes promotes human superiority, and the current royal family follows their doctrine closely. The Three Heroes? Naruto asked. But there are 4 cardinal weapons. 5, counting mine. Indeed. The church venerates the sword, spear, and bow, but considers the shield hero a devil. Reignat lowered his voice further. They believe the shield hero favors demi-humans, which is anathema to their human supremacist views. Your appearance as a fifth hero has sent them into disarray. That explains a lot, Naruto mused. No wonder they tried to sabotage Naofumi and sideline me. Be careful, Ryuknot warned. The church has vast influence and will not tolerate threats to their doctrine. And now that you travel with the shield hero and openly associate with demi-humans, they'll target me too. Naruto nodded grimly. Thanks for the warning. The next morning, as they prepared to depart, Filo suddenly began glowing with brilliant light. When it faded, where the giant bird had stood was now a young girl with blonde hair, wings instead of arms, and taloned feet. Filo can be people now, she announced proudly, completely nude and apparently unconcerned about it. Naruto quickly averted his eyes, grabbing a cloak to wrap around her. Filo. You can transform. Filo saw humans and wanted to be like Naruto and Raphtalia, she explained, examining her new form with delight. So Filo changed. Lord Ryuknot, witnessing the transformation, explained that Filolials occasionally developed into a special breed called Filolial queens, capable of human transformation. It's exceedingly rare, he added. Your Filo must be quite special. With clothes hastily provided for Filo's human form, they bid farewell to Ryuknot and continued their journey. The newly bipedal Filo adapted quickly to her human shape, though she often reverted to bird form for travel or combat. Their party's unusual composition, a mistrusted shield hero, an unrecognized sage hero, a demi-human, and a shape-shifting bird, drew stares wherever they went. But their effectiveness in combat earned them grudging respect from fellow adventurers. As the prophesied time for the next wave approached, they made camp near the designated battlefield, a remote valley where dimensional cracks were expected to appear. The night before the wave, Naruto found Raphtalia sitting alone by their campfire, her expression troubled. Can't sleep, he asked, sitting beside her. She shook her head. Tomorrow will be like what destroyed my village. I'm not afraid to fight, but the memories are hard. Naruto nodded understanding. I know what that's like. You do. My village was attacked several times during my life. I lost people I cared about. He stared into the flames. But that's why we fight, to protect what remains and honor what was lost. Raphtalia leaned slightly against his shoulder. Thank you for believing in me. For treating me like a person, not a slave or a child. You've never given me reason to think of you as anything less, Naruto replied softly. You're one of the bravest people I've met, and I've known some pretty brave people. They sat in comfortable silence until Raphtalia spoke again. If I don't make it tomorrow, don't talk like that, Naruto interrupted. We're all coming through this together. I promise. But if something happens, she persisted, I want you to know that meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. You gave me back my life, my dignity. Naruto turned to face her directly. Nothing's going to happen to you. Or Filo, or Naofumi, or me. Know how I know? Because we're not fighting as individuals, we're fighting as a team. And that makes us stronger than any wave. Raphtalia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I believe you. Good. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow, we show this world what the real heroes look like. As dawn broke, a massive clock tower in the distance began to chime. With each toll, the sky darkened further, until with the 12th chime, reality itself seemed to crack open. Fissures appeared in the air above the valley, pulsing with sickly green light. It's beginning, Naofumi murmured, shield raised. From the fissures poured creatures of nightmare, flying monstrosities with razor wings, hulking behemoths with too many limbs, skeletal warriors bearing corroded weapons. Behind them all, a colossal figure began to emerge, a three-headed dragon whose scales gleamed like oil on water. Naruto's scroll unfurled fully, glowing with accumulated power. Ready, everyone. Raphtalia drew her sword, chakra visibly flowing along its edge. Ready. Filo transformed to her bird form, talons scraping the ground eagerly. Filo ready. Naofumi activated his shield's strongest defense formation. Let's do this. As monsters descended upon the valley, Naruto's eyes shifted to Sage mode, golden and determined. Then let's show them what happens when you mess with our world. Together, they charged forward to meet the wave. Chapter 2, Waves of Change. The three-headed dragon let out a bone-rattling roar as monsters poured from the dimensional rift. Green light cast sickly shadows across the valley, turning the peaceful countryside into an apocalyptic battlefield. I'll handle the big one. Naruto shouted, his sage-enhanced eyes tracking the colossal dragon as it fully emerged from the rift. Naofumi, shield the villagers. Raphtalia and Filo, take down the flying ones before they can spread. No one questioned his orders. In the weeks since they'd formed their unlikely team, they'd developed an instinctive trust in each other's abilities. Naofumi dashed toward the nearby village, shield glowing with defensive energy. Airstrike shield. Translucent barriers materialized, blocking the path of advancing monsters. Raphtalia leapt into action with chakra-enhanced speed, her sword flashing as she intercepted a group of bat-like creatures diving toward fleeing civilians. Behind you, she called to an elderly man who'd fallen behind. In one fluid motion, she sliced through a monster that had been about to strike him. Filo, in her bird form, took to the sky with powerful wing beats. Filo will help. She slammed into a cluster of flying monsters, her talons ripping through their membranous wings. With each victory, she chirped triumphantly. Naruto raced toward the dragon, scroll unfurling as he ran. Sage scroll technique, giant Rasengan. The scroll glowed blue, and a massive spiraling sphere of energy formed in his hand. Leaping high into the air, he drove the technique into the middle head of the dragon. The impact was catastrophic. Energy exploded outward, sending the dragon crashing to the ground with a thunderous boom that shook the valley. But the creature wasn't defeated, its other two heads snapped angrily while the injured one dangled limply. Tougher than I thought, Naruto muttered, landing in a crouch. Time to stop holding back. He crossed his fingers in a familiar sign. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Suddenly, 50 identical Narutos populated the battlefield, each grinning with the same determined expression. They swarmed the dragon from all angles, unleashing a barrage of attacks that kept the massive beast disoriented. Nearby adventurers and knights stopped mid-battle, staring in disbelief. What kind of magic is that? One knight gasped. It's not magic, another replied. It's the sage hero. The dragon thrashed wildly, catching several clones with its tail and dispersing them in puffs of smoke. Its remaining heads belched torrents of acidic flame, melting the ground where they struck. Meanwhile, throughout the valley, other heroes had joined the battle. The sword hero, Ren, executed precise strikes against armored monsters. The bow hero, Itsuki, launched volleys of magical arrows from a distance. The spear hero, Motoyasu, protected Princess Malty with flashy but effective spear techniques. Yet despite their efforts, the wave showed no sign of abating. For every monster slain, two more emerged from the rifts. Something's wrong. Naofumi shouted, his shield absorbing another attack meant for the villagers he protected. The wave should be weakening by now. Naruto, still engaged with the dragon, felt it too, a wrongness in the very fabric of reality around them. Using his sage senses, he detected an anomaly at the heart of the largest rift. There's something controlling it, he called out. Some kind of presence inside the rift itself. As if responding to his discovery, the rift pulsed brighter. From its depths emerged a figure unlike the monsters, a woman in elegant battle attire, her face obscured by a folding fan. She surveyed the battlefield with cold calculation before her gaze landed on Naruto. The anomaly, she said, her voice somehow carrying across the chaos. So you are the reason. She descended gracefully, touching down atop the dragon's back. With a flick of her fan, the beast calmed instantly, its remaining heads bowing in submission. "Who are you?" Naruto demanded, dispersing his remaining clones to conserve chakra. "I am Glass," she replied, snapping her fan closed. "Vanguard of the spirit tortoise world. And you?" Her eyes narrowed. "You should not exist." She moved with blinding speed, appearing before Naruto in an instant. Her fan, now revealed as a bladed weapon, slashed toward his throat. Naruto barely dodged, feeling the wind of the strike pass his cheek. "Fast," he acknowledged, jumping back to create distance. "But not as fast as me." He vanished in a yellow flash, reappearing behind Glass with a kunai drawn. The technique, derived from his father's flying thunder god but adapted through his scroll's abilities, caught Glass off guard. The kunai sliced across her arm before she could fully evade. "Impossible," she hissed, examining the wound. "No hero should possess such speed." "I'm full of surprises," Naruto replied, already forming his next attack. Sage Scroll Technique, Wind Blade. The scroll generated a crescent of compressed air that hurtled toward Glass. She countered with her fan, dispersing the attack, but the effort visibly strained her. "You are indeed an anomaly," she said, a hint of respect entering her voice. "But this changes nothing. Your world or mine, one must fall." Before Naruto could question her cryptic statement, Glass raised her fan high. Reverse Dimension Wave. The rift above pulsed violently, then began to contract. The monsters throughout the valley disintegrated into particles of light, drawn back into the closing tear in reality. Even the dragon beneath Glass began to dissolve. "This isn't over," Glass promised as she too was pulled back into the rift. "We will meet again, Sage Hero." With a final flash, the rift sealed completely. The sky cleared, returning to its natural blue. An eerie silence fell over the valley, broken only by the groans of the wounded and the cautious cheers of survivors. Naruto rejoined his companions, who had weathered the battle with only minor injuries. "Everyone okay?" "We're fine," Naofumi confirmed, his shield returning to its basic form. "But what was that? Who was that woman?" "I don't know," Naruto admitted. "But she called me an anomaly, like my presence here is somehow wrong." Raphtalia sheathed her sword, coming to stand beside him. "There's nothing wrong about you being here. You helped save these people." Filo, now back in human form and hastily wrapped in a borrowed cloak, nodded vigorously. "Naruto is the best. Not an anomaly." "Anomaly," Naruto corrected with a small smile, ruffling her blonde hair. "And thanks, but Glass seemed pretty convinced I'm messing something up just by being here." Their conversation was interrupted by approaching knights, led by none other than Princess Malti and Motoyasu. "There they are," Malti declared, pointing accusingly. "The criminals who interfered with Sir Motoyasu's heroic battle." "Criminals?" Naofumi bristled. "We were fighting the same enemy you were. You deliberately undermined the rightful heroes," Malti continued, ignoring him. "Sir Motoyasu had the dragon under control until you intervened." Naruto snorted. "That's not how I remember it. In fact, I don't remember seeing you anywhere near the dragon." Motoyasu stepped forward, spear pointed at Naruto. "Watch your tone when addressing the princess, Sage Hero, if that's even what you really are." "Trust me, I've dealt with bigger threats than a guy compensating with an oversized toothpick," Naruto replied coolly. The tension might have escalated further if not for the arrival of other knights, these bearing the insignia of the king himself. "By order of King Altcray Melromark XXXII, all Cardinal heroes are to return to the capital immediately for debriefing," announced their leader. "The appearance of the entity known as Glass requires royal attention." Malti's face fell. "But father, I mean, His Majesty already authorized me to, the king's orders supersede all previous arrangements, princess." The knight's tone made it clear he wouldn't be swayed. All heroes. No exceptions. The throne room buzzed with tension as all 5 heroes stood before King Altcray. Court wizards and scholars frantically consulted ancient texts while nobles whispered among themselves. The king himself looked troubled, his usual arrogance tempered by concern. The entity calling herself Glass, he began without preamble, is unprecedented in our records of the waves. Describe your encounter. Naruto stepped forward despite Malty's attempt to have Motoyasu speak first. She called herself the vanguard of something called the Spirit Tortoise World. Said either her world or ours had to fall. Gasps echoed through the throne room. An elderly scholar dropped the tome he'd been holding. Spirit Tortoise World, the king demanded. You're certain that's what she said? Positive, Naruto confirmed. She also called me an anomaly and seemed surprised by my abilities. The Pope, who had been silent until now, spoke up. This confirms our worst fears. The prophecies speak of world collision, not merely monster invasion. He fixed Naruto with an accusatory stare. And your unprecedented appearance has disrupted the balance. Or maybe I'm here because the balance was already disrupted, Naruto countered. Ever think of that? The Pope's expression darkened. Blasphemy. The holy texts clearly state, enough, the king interrupted. What matters now is preparing for Glass's return. She retreated this time, but clearly intends to continue her assault. He turned to his advisors. Double the heroes' funding. Accelerate their leveling schedule. We need them at maximum strength before the next wave. This announcement sent nobles into a frenzy of objections. Your Majesty, the treasury cannot support such expenditure. The shield hero is still under investigation for crimes against the crown. The sage hero isn't even mentioned in prophecy. The king silenced them with a slam of his scepter. I will hear no more objections. The survival of our world takes precedence over all other concerns. He fixed each hero with a stern gaze. You will be provided with resources commensurate with your performance against the wave. His eyes lingered on Naofumi and Naruto. Even those whose legitimacy remains questionable. After the audience, they were escorted to the castle's armory, where royal artificers presented them with enhanced equipment and magical items. While the other heroes eagerly claimed their rewards, Naruto approached Naofumi, who stood apart from the others. They're scared, Naruto observed quietly. The king, the Pope, all of them. Glass shook their confidence. Good, Naofumi muttered. Maybe fear will make them less petty. Don't count on it. Fear makes most people worse, not better. Naruto examined a set of enchanted daggers before passing them to Raphtalia. But it does create opportunities for those willing to act. What are you suggesting? That we use this situation to our advantage. They need us now more than we need them. Naruto grinned. Time to negotiate. To the shock of the royal officials, Naruto refused most of the offered equipment. Instead, he presented a list of demands: official recognition of his status as the sage hero, equal treatment for Naofumi, legal protection for demi-humans in their party, and autonomy in how they prepared for the next wave. This is outrageous, spluttered the Minister of Finance. You cannot dictate terms to the crown. Sure I can, Naruto replied pleasantly. You just heard me do it. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Force me to fight? Good luck with that. Let me walk away. Even worse luck when Glass comes back. The royal officials huddled in panicked discussion before reluctantly agreeing to most of his terms. By the time they left the castle, Naruto, Naofumi, and their companions had official documentation recognizing their status and authority. That was. Raphtalia searched for words as they walked through the capital streets. I've never seen anyone speak to nobles like that. Sometimes you need to stand your ground, Naruto said. I learned that the hard way back home. Filo skipped happily beside them, now dressed in a custom outfit that accommodated her transformations. Naruto was super cool. They all looked like this. She mimicked an expression of shocked outrage, making Raphtalia giggle. Naofumi, who had parted ways to pursue his own agenda, had promised to meet them later at an inn on the city outskirts. This left Naruto, Raphtalia, and Filo time to explore the capital more freely than ever before. As they browsed market stalls, Naruto noticed Raphtalia's expression change when they passed a group of demi-human children begging on a street corner. "What's wrong?" he asked softly. "They remind me of my village," she replied, watching the children with sad eyes. "Before the wave, we were poor, but at least we had homes. Now there are so many orphans like them." Naruto studied the children thoughtfully. "What if we could help them?" "How?" "We can't adopt every orphan we see." "Maybe not, but we can create a safe place for them." Naruto's expression grew determined. "We have royal backing now. Let's use it for something good." Over the following days, they scouted locations outside the capital, eventually finding an abandoned estate that had fallen into disrepair. With their new authority, they claimed it as a strategic base for wave defense, technically true, though not their primary purpose. "It needs work," Naruto acknowledged, surveying the crumbling buildings. "But it has potential." Raphtalia walked through what had once been a great hall, now open to the sky where the roof had collapsed. "It's so big. How will we restore it?" Naruto grinned and formed his signature hand sign. "I know a shortcut." Hundreds of shadow clones popped into existence, each awaiting instructions. Some began clearing debris, others started repairing walls, while more headed to the forest to gather materials. "Show off," Raphtalia teased, but her eyes shone with admiration. Filo helped too. The Philolial transformed into her bird form, using her strength to move heavy beams and stones. What would have taken a construction crew months was accomplished in weeks. The estate transformed under their efforts, buildings restored and grounds cleared. Word spread among demi-human communities, and soon volunteers arrived to help, cautiously at first, then with growing enthusiasm as they realized the sage hero truly welcomed them. Meanwhile, Naruto continued training Raphtalia and Filo in combat and chakra manipulation. Raphtalia had progressed impressively, now able to enhance her sword strikes with wind-natured chakra. Filo, though less disciplined, showed natural talent for strength enhancement. "Focus on the feeling," Naruto instructed as they practiced in a meadow near their new base. "Chakra follows intention. Visualize what you want to happen." Raphtalia concentrated, her sword glowing faintly blue. She swung it at a boulder, and the stone split cleanly in half. "I did it." Filo's turn. The girl-turned bird charged a different boulder, her talons glowing with raw chakra. When she struck, the entire boulder exploded into fragments. "Oops. Too much." Naruto laughed. "A bit. But impressive control for someone your age." Their training was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger bearing the royal seal. Naruto broke the wax seal and scanned the contents. "The king's calling another meeting of heroes," he reported. "Apparently their researchers have new information about the waves." "Do we have to go?" Filo asked, transforming back to human form and donning her dress. "The castle people are mean." "Unfortunately, yes. If they've learned something important, we need to know it too." Naruto folded the message. "Besides, I want to check how our demands are being implemented." The answer, as they discovered upon returning to the capital, was poorly. Though they now received grudging respect from officials, discrimination against demi-humans continued unchecked. Raphtalia still drew hostile stares and muttered slurs when they walked the streets. "So much for royal decrees," Naruto muttered as they made their way to the castle. Inside, they found the other heroes already assembled, along with a new figure, a bespectacled woman in scholarly robes who was setting up complex magical diagrams. "Ah, the final heroes arrive," the king noted with barely concealed impatience. "Now we may begin. This is Lady Reignat, foremost expert on interdimensional theory. The woman, apparently related to Lord Reignat, whom they had met previously, adjusted her glasses. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Heroes, what I'm about to share will challenge everything you've been told about the waves." Her presentation was detailed and technical, but the core revelation was simple: the waves weren't merely monster invasions, but collisions between dimensions. Different worlds were literally crashing into each other, with catastrophic consequences for all involved. According to our research, she explained, pointing to her diagrams, only one world can ultimately survive this convergence. The waves will continue, escalating in intensity, until all but one world is destroyed. "And Glass?" Ren, the sword hero, asked. "She's from one of these other worlds." "Precisely. She fights to ensure her world's survival, at the expense of ours." Naruto frowned, remembering Glass's words. "She specifically mentioned me being an anomaly. How does that fit in?" Lady Reignat's expression grew troubled. "That's the most concerning part. The prophecies clearly state 4 cardinal heroes would be summoned. Your appearance as a 5th hero has no precedent." She hesitated before continuing. "Some of our scholars believe your presence may have accelerated the convergence process." Murmurs spread through the assembled nobles. Princess Malty didn't bother hiding her triumphant smirk. "So he's making things worse just by being here," she said loudly. "Perhaps we should send him back." "That's not possible," Lady Reignat countered. "Once summoned, heroes cannot return to their original worlds until the waves are resolved one way or another." "Then what do you suggest?" the king demanded. "I suggest we use all resources available to us, including the unexpected power of the sage hero." She turned to Naruto. "Your abilities differ fundamentally from the other heroes. This may prove crucial in finding a solution beyond the binary outcome of world destruction." After the briefing, as nobles argued policy implications, Naruto pulled Lady Reignat aside. "You didn't say everything you know." She glanced around before responding quietly. "Perceptive. There are theories too, politically sensitive to share in that forum. If you truly wish to understand what's happening, visit my father's estate in 3 days' time." Before he could press for details, she was called away by royal officials. Naruto rejoined Raphtalia and Filo, sharing the invitation in hushed tones. "A secret meeting?" Raphtalia whispered. "Do you think it's a trap?" "Possible, but I don't think so." Lady Reignat seemed genuinely concerned about finding solutions, not playing politics. Naruto glanced toward where Princess Malty was holding court with fawning nobles. "Unlike some people." Speaking of the princess, she separated from her entourage and approached them with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sage hero, might I have a word in private?" Naruto exchanged glances with Raphtalia, who subtly shook her head in warning. "Anything you want to say to me can be said in front of my companions." Malty's smile tightened. "Very well. I've been reflecting on our unfortunate first impressions. Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot." "The wrong foot," Naruto repeated flatly. "You mean when you falsely accused Naofumi of assault, stripped him of resources, and turned the kingdom against him?" "Misunderstandings happen in the heat of the moment," she replied smoothly. "What matters is moving forward. The kingdom needs all its heroes united. Funny how you only care about unity now that you know the world's in danger." Malty stepped closer, lowering her voice to a silky purr. "I can be very appreciative of heroes who show proper respect to the crown. Many doors could open for you, sage hero. Many, pleasurable opportunities." Her hand brushed his arm, her meaning unmistakable. Naruto stepped back, expression hardening. "Let me be clear, princess. I'm not interested in your kind of politics or your kind of pleasures. The only thing I want from you is to undo the damage you've done to Naofumi's reputation." Malty's seductive mask slipped, revealing the cold calculation beneath. "You're making a mistake. The shield hero is condemned by prophecy itself. Aligning with him will only drag you down. I'll take my chances. Naruto turned away. We're done here. As they left the castle, Raphtalia couldn't hide her smile. You turned down a princess. A manipulative, scheming princess, Naruto corrected. Not exactly a hard choice. Filo tugged at his sleeve. What did she mean by pleasurable opportunities? Naruto nearly tripped. That's something we'll discuss when you're older, Filo. Raphtalia's cheeks turned pink, but her smile remained. Much, much older. True to their word, 3 days later they arrived at Lord Reignat's estate. They were immediately escorted to a library deep within the manor, where Lady Reignat waited alongside her father and, surprisingly, Naofumi. You invited the shield hero as well? Naruto asked, clasping forearms with Naofumi in greeting. His situation is equally relevant to what I'm about to share, Lady Reignat replied, activating magical wards around the room to prevent eavesdropping. What I tell you cannot leave this room. It directly contradicts church doctrine, which makes it treasonous in the current climate. Lord Reignat nodded gravely. We risk everything by sharing this, but the stakes demand nothing less. Lady Reignat retrieved an ancient tome from a hidden compartment in the wall. This text predates the Church of the Three Heroes. It describes the original prophecy, unaltered by centuries of political revision. She opened the book to reveal faded illustrations of heroes, but not 4, as tradition held. The ancient pages clearly depicted 6 distinct figures. The cardinal heroes were never meant to be just 4, she explained. The original prophecy spoke of 6, sword, spear, bow, shield, sage, and one more, whose identity was deliberately erased from official records. Why? Naofumi demanded. Why erase 2 heroes from history? Because their powers threatened established authority, Lord Reignat explained. The shield hero's ability to empower others rather than dominate them ran counter to the human supremacist ideology taking hold at the time. And the sage hero's power to learn and adapt, to grow beyond rigid systems, this was perhaps even more dangerous to those seeking to consolidate control. And the 6th hero? Naruto asked, studying the faded illustration of a figure whose details had been largely scratched away. We know only that they were called the Star Hero, Lady Reignat said. Their weapon and abilities are lost to history, deliberately erased more thoroughly than even the shield and sage. Naofumi scowled. So the church propaganda about the shield hero being evil, a fabrication to justify your exclusion from the Trinity they worship, Lord Reignat confirmed. As for why the sage hero was summoned this time when previous waves brought only 4. He looked meaningfully at Naruto. The waves are worsening. Reality itself seems to be attempting to correct the imbalance by restoring the original 6. Does that mean the star hero might appear too? Raphtalia asked. Possibly, though we have no way to predict when or how. Lady Reignat closed the ancient tome. But there's more. The original texts suggest the waves weren't always destructive convergences. In the most ancient cycles, they were described as great harmonies where worlds shared knowledge and power. Something changed, Naruto realized. The waves became corrupted somehow. Precisely. And we believe it happened when the balance of heroes was disrupted, when the shield, sage, and star were erased from official doctrine. The implications were staggering. If true, it meant centuries of unnecessary destruction, all stemming from ancient political manipulation. This changes everything, Naofumi said. If the waves don't have to end with worlds destroying each other, then we need to fix whatever broke the system, Naruto finished. Restore the balance somehow. That's our theory, Lady Reignat agreed. But the church would consider such ideas heretical. They've built their power on the current structure and prophecies. No wonder they hate us, Naofumi muttered. We're living proof their doctrine is wrong. And why they're so alarmed by your growing influence, Lord Reignat added, looking at Naruto. Your sanctuary for demi-humans, your training methods that empower others to use abilities similar to yours, these directly challenge their monopoly on power. Naruto considered this, then grinned. Good. Let's challenge them more. Over the following weeks, they expanded their operations. The restored estate became a true sanctuary, housing dozens of demi-human refugees. Naruto established a training program teaching basic chakra techniques, while Naofumi visited regularly to help develop defensive capabilities. Word of their work spread, drawing more demi-humans seeking safety and purpose. But it also drew attention from less welcome quarters. Knights approaching, a lookout called one morning. Royal insignia. Naruto went to meet them at the gate, Raphtalia and Filo flanking him. A dozen armored knights sat astride warhorses, their captain holding a rolled proclamation. Sage Hero, the captain announced formally. By order of the Church of the Three Heroes, this establishment is to be investigated for heretical activities. On what grounds? Naruto demanded. Reports of unauthorized magical instruction, harboring of unregistered demi-humans, and dissemination of teachings contrary to church doctrine. The captain unrolled the proclamation. We are authorized to search these premises and question all inhabitants. Naruto crossed his arms. No. The captain blinked. I beg your pardon. I said no. This sanctuary operates under hero authority, confirmed by royal decree. Your church has no jurisdiction here. The knights exchanged uneasy glances. Their captain's face reddened. The church's authority extends throughout Melromark. Refusal to comply will be considered treason. Tell you what, Naruto said pleasantly. You go back to whoever sent you and deliver a message. If they want to inspect my sanctuary, they can come themselves, not hide behind knights doing their dirty work. His voice hardened. But they should come prepared for a fair fight, because I don't roll over for bullies, no matter what fancy titles they have. This is your final warning. No, Naruto interrupted. This is yours. He created a single shadow clone that performed a lightning-fast series of hand signs. The ground beneath the knight's horses rumbled, then erupted in dozens of small earth spikes, not enough to injure, but sufficient to spook the animals into rearing and backing away. Next time, the ground swallows you completely, Naruto stated calmly. Now leave, before I decide your presence threatens those under my protection. The knights retreated, though the captain promised repercussions. Once they were gone, Raphtalia turned to Naruto with concern. That was dangerous, she said. The church has immense influence. They were testing our resolve, Naruto replied. Backing down would only invite more aggression. He smiled reassuringly. But you're right, we need to prepare for their response. Double the lookouts and accelerate the defense training. That evening, as they discussed security improvements, a commotion erupted near the main gate. Naruto rushed to investigate, finding the guards surrounding a group of exhausted travelers, demi-humans from the look of their various animal features. They just arrived, one guard explained. Say they're refugees from a village called Luralona. Raphtalia, who had followed Naruto, froze. Luralona? That was my village. The newcomers reacted to her voice, one elderly Tanuki woman stepping forward with disbelieving eyes. Raphtalia? Sieto and Rafana's daughter? You're alive. The reunion was emotional. The survivors, barely a dozen, had been enslaved after the wave destroyed their village. They'd escaped during transport to a mine when their caravan was attacked by monsters. Hearing rumors of a sanctuary for demi-humans, they'd made the perilous journey with little more than hope to guide them. Raphtalia learned the fate of childhood friends, neighbors, and relatives. Most had perished in the wave or subsequent enslavement. The news of her parents' confirmed deaths, though long suspected, hit her hard. Naruto found her late that night sitting alone on the sanctuary wall, staring at the moon. I thought I had accepted they were gone, she said as he sat beside her. But hearing it confirmed. There's a difference between suspecting and knowing, Naruto said gently. And it's okay to grieve even when you thought you were done grieving. The slavers who took us after the wave, Raphtalia continued, her voice hardening, they're still out there, doing the same to other villages. The survivors described them, a group led by a man with a scar across his face. They call themselves the Skull Company. And you want to go after them, Naruto guessed. She nodded, then looked at him with determination. Not for revenge. For justice, and to free others like me. Naruto studied her face in the moonlight. The frightened child he'd rescued from the slave market was gone, replaced by a young woman of purpose and strength. You're sure about this? I am. We're building this sanctuary to protect people, but we should also stop those causing the harm in the first place. Her hand found his. Will you help me? Of course. Naruto squeezed her hand. We'll gather information first, then make a plan. No rushing in blindly. The next week was spent collecting intelligence. Naofumi's network of merchants provided locations of recent Skull Company activities. Survivors detailed their methods and numbers. Filo, able to cover vast distances in her bird form, scouted potential hideouts. Their target emerged, a fortified compound in the mountains where slaves were held before transport to mines and noble estates. The operation would be risky, not just because of the slavers' defenses, but because such direct action against a legal enterprise, however immoral, would further antagonize the authorities. We'll need to be quick and decisive, Naruto explained as they finalized their plan. In and out before they can mount an organized defense or call for reinforcements. The night of the operation arrived with a new moon, providing optimal darkness. Naruto, Raphtalia, and a small team of their best-trained volunteers approached the slaver compound from different directions. Filo, carrying Naofumi, would create a diversion at the main gate. Remember, Naruto told Raphtalia as they prepared to separate, the priority is freeing the prisoners. Confronting the leaders is secondary. She nodded, though determination burned in her eyes. I understand. Be careful, he added, then impulsively pulled her into a quick hug. I'll see you inside. The operation began perfectly. Filo's dramatic appearance at the main gate, coupled with Naofumi's shield techniques, drew most of the guards' attention. Meanwhile, Naruto's team scaled the eastern wall while Raphtalia's group infiltrated through a drainage tunnel. Inside, they moved silently through guard posts, neutralizing sentries without raising alarms. They located the slave pens, crude wooden cages packed with demi-humans of all ages. As they began freeing the prisoners, Raphtalia spotted a familiar face among the guards, the scarred man who had overseen her own capture years ago. Without warning, she broke from the plan, pursuing him as he fled deeper into the compound. Naruto, sensing her divergence through a shadow clone he'd assigned to her team, cursed under his breath. Keep freeing the prisoners, he ordered his team. I'll find her. He tracked Raphtalia to the compound's central building, arriving just as she cornered the slaver in an opulent office. Her sword was at the man's throat, her hand trembling slightly. Remember me, she demanded, voice tight with emotion. Luralona village. The Tanuki girl you said would fetch a premium price, because of my eyes. The slaver sneered despite his precarious position. I've handled hundreds of brats like you. Nothing personal, just business. It was personal to us, Raphtalia pressed the blade harder, drawing a thin line of blood. To the children who died in your cages. To the parents separated from their kids. Naruto remained in the doorway, watching. This was Raphtalia's moment, her choice to make. Go ahead, the slaver taunted. Kill me. Prove you're just an animal after all. Raphtalia's blade trembled, then steadied. No. That's what you want, what you expect. She lowered the sword slightly. I'm not an animal, and I'm not a murderer. You'll face justice, not revenge. The slaver's expression shifted to a calculating smile. Justice? In Melromark? The magistrates will have me free in days. Demi-human testimony means nothing. Then we'll create our own justice, Naruto said, finally stepping into the room. The kind that doesn't need corrupt courts to work. Together, they bound the slaver and rejoined the main operation. By morning, over 60 demi-humans had been freed, the compound's records seized, and its leaders, including the scarred man, confined in their own cells. Using his scroll's abilities, Naruto copied then destroyed the slave crest's control crystals, effectively freeing every captive from magical bondage. They offered the liberated demi-humans sanctuary at their estate, which most gratefully accepted. You had him at your mercy, Naruto said to Raphtalia as they watched the former slaves receive medical attention. You could have taken your revenge. A few months ago, I might have, she admitted. But that's not who I want to be. Not who you taught me to be. Naruto smiled, a surge of pride warming his chest. You didn't need me to teach you that. It was in you all along. Maybe. She returned his smile. But I needed you to help me find it again, after everything that happened. Their moment was interrupted by a messenger arriving with urgent news. Another wave was forming, ahead of the predicted schedule. That's impossible, Naofumi protested when they gathered to discuss the development. The waves follow a strict timetable. Not this one, the messenger insisted. The royal mages say it's unlike any pattern they've seen. All heroes are commanded to the capital immediately. They arrived at the castle amid barely controlled panic. Nobles rushed through corridors with armfuls of valuables while servants loaded wagons for evacuation. In the throne room, the king sat grim-faced as his advisors argued around him. Ah, the final pieces arrive, he said when the heroes were announced. The situation is dire. A wave formation has appeared directly above the capital, the first time a wave has targeted a major population center. How long do we have? Ren asked. Hours at most. But there's more. The king gestured to his court mage. Show them. A magical projection appeared in the center of the room, displaying the rift forming above the city. Unlike previous waves, this one pulsed with multicolored energy, swirling in patterns more complex than they'd seen before. Our analysis indicates this is not a standard wave, the mage explained. It appears to be a direct manifestation, a targeted attack rather than a natural convergence. Glass, Naruto realized. She's forcing a confrontation. As if summoned by her name, the magical projection rippled, and Glass's face appeared within it. Perceptive as always, sage hero. The court erupted in shocked exclamations. The projection expanded, showing Glass in what appeared to be her world, a landscape of floating islands and crystalline structures. I hope to allow you more time to consider your position, she said, addressing not just Naruto but all present. But circumstances have accelerated. My world cannot withstand another natural wave cycle. So you're bringing the fight to us, Naruto concluded. Trying to eliminate our world before the next natural convergence. Glass inclined her head slightly. A regrettable necessity. But I offer an alternative, surrender the anomaly. Send the sage hero to our world, and this attack will be withdrawn. All eyes turned to Naruto. The king leaned forward on his throne. What does she mean? What makes you so important to her? I don't know, Naruto admitted, though suspicions were forming in his mind. But I'm not surrendering to anyone. Glass sighed. As expected. Then prepare yourselves. This wave carries not just monsters, but warriors of my world. We will not hold back. The projection flickered. You have until sunset to reconsider. When the image faded, the throne room descended into chaos. Nobles shouted contradictory advice while the king's advisors calculated evacuation possibilities. Throughout it all, Princess Malti worked her way to her father's side, whispering urgently in his ear. The king raised his hand for silence. The situation is clear. The sage hero must be surrendered to spare our capital. What? Raphtalia stepped forward incredulously. You can't be serious. One life against thousands, the king responded coldly. The mathematics is simple. Naruto laughed, drawing startled looks. If you think I'm going quietly, you've learned nothing about me. He addressed the room at large. Glass believes I'm the key to something, the reason the waves are changing. That makes me valuable to both sides, not a sacrifice to appease her. The anomaly must be removed, the Pope intoned, stepping forward from where he'd been observing. The prophecies are clear, 4 heroes, not 5. Your presence disrupts divine order. Or restores it, Naruto countered. Did you ever consider that your divine order might be the very thing that corrupted the waves in the first place? The Pope's face contorted with rage. Blasphemy. Guards, seize this heretic. Knights moved to surround Naruto, but they found themselves facing not just him, but Raphtalia, Filo, and surprisingly, Naofumi as well. Think carefully, Naofumi warned, his shield glowing with defensive energy. You're about to attack heroes when a wave is literally forming above your heads. The standoff might have erupted into violence if not for a tremendous boom that shook the entire castle. Dust rained from the ceiling as the magical sensors throughout the room flared to life. The wave, the court mage cried. It's accelerating. Impact within minutes. The king rose shakily to his feet. Heroes, whatever our disagreements, the defense of the capital takes precedence. I order you to your stations. And after? Naruto demanded. When the wave is defeated? More betrayal. You have my word no action will be taken against you during or immediately following the wave, the king promised. Beyond that, we shall see. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. The heroes rushed to their assigned positions, ran to the eastern wall, Itsuki to the archer towers, Motoyasu to the main gate, and Naofumi to the civilian shelters. Naruto, as the unrecognized hero, received no official assignment. Perfect, he told Raphtalia and Filo as they hurried through panicking crowds. That means we can go where we're most needed. The sky above the capital had turned an unnatural purple, the rift expanding like an infected wound in reality itself. Unlike previous waves, this one didn't simply disgorge monsters, it seemed to be attempting to overlay another world directly atop their own. Buildings shimmered, sometimes appearing to have alternate versions that flickered in and out of existence. The worlds are merging, Raphtalia gasped, watching a tower transform briefly into a crystalline spire before reverting. Not merging, fighting for the same space, Naruto corrected, his sage senses detecting the fundamental wrongness of what was happening. Only one version can exist when this stabilizes. They reached the central plaza as the first invaders appeared, not mindless monsters, but organized warriors in armor similar to glasses. They moved with purpose, targeting infrastructure and defenders with tactical precision. These aren't wave creatures, Naruto realized. They're soldiers from her world. Then we fight soldiers, not monsters, Raphtalia replied grimly, drawing her sword. The battle that followed was unlike any previous wave. The invading forces coordinated attacks against key defenses while reality itself continued to fluctuate around them. Buildings would suddenly shift position, streets rearranged themselves, forcing both defenders and attackers to constantly adapt. Naruto created shadow clones to support each of the other heroes, keeping their defensive lines from collapsing under the organized assault. Raphtalia moved through the chaos with growing confidence, her sword techniques now enhanced by wind chakra that cut through enemy armor with ease. Filo alternated between forms, using her bird shape for devastating charges then switching to human form for more precise attacks. In the midst of the fighting, a familiar presence manifested at the center of the plaza. Glass stepped through what appeared to be a tear in space itself, her fan already drawn. I gave you the chance to surrender peacefully, sage hero, she called, deflecting arrows from nearby defenders with casual flicks of her fan. Now I must take what is needed by force. Naruto disengaged from his current opponents, signaling Raphtalia and Filo to continue without him. What exactly is it you think you need from me? Not from you, what you represent. Glass circled slowly, assessing him. Your presence proves the corruption can be undone. The sixth hero must also exist, waiting to be discovered. The star hero, Naruto said, watching her reaction carefully. You know about the original six. Glass's eyes widened slightly. You've learned more than I expected. Yes, the 6 heroes of balance, 3 of power, 3 of harmony. When the balance was broken, the waves became destructive rather than regenerative. So why fight me? If we want the same thing, to restore the balance, because only one world can survive to see that restoration. Glass lunged forward, her fan slicing through the air with lethal intent. And I choose mine. Naruto met her attack with a kunai, the weapons clashing with a shower of sparks. There has to be another way. If there is, it died centuries ago when your world's leaders corrupted the system. Glass pressed her attack, her speed matching even Naruto's enhanced reflexes. Now the only path is survival. Their battle escalated, powers clashing with devastating effect. Glass commanded techniques unlike anything in Melromark, manipulations of space itself that bent reality around her attacks. Naruto countered with the full range of his ninja abilities, no longer holding back. Sage Art, Massive Rasengan. The colossal sphere of spiraling chakra tore through Glass's defensive techniques, forcing her to dodge rather than block. Reverse Court, World Severance, she countered, her fan generating slashes in reality itself that Naruto barely avoided. Around them, the battle for the capital continued. The other heroes fought valiantly, but the combination of skilled invaders and unstable reality pushed them to their limits. Citizens fled toward the shelters Naofumi protected, while sections of the city shifted between worlds with increasing frequency. As their duel intensified, Naruto noticed something unexpected. Each time their techniques clashed directly, the surrounding reality stabilized momentarily. The fluctuations paused, as if their powers together somehow anchored both worlds. Glass, he called during a brief respite. Are you seeing this? When we fight directly, it stabilizes things. She hesitated, observing the effect with narrowed eyes. A temporary phenomenon. It changes nothing. It changes everything. It proves the worlds can coexist if the right energies are balanced. Naruto lowered his guard slightly. Let me try something. Before she could object, he activated his scroll, unfurling it fully. Sage Scroll Technique, Harmonic Absorption. The scroll glowed with intense blue light as Naruto channeled chakra into it, not to attack but to connect. He extended it toward Glass, not trying to absorb her weapon but to establish a link between their energies. What are you doing? She demanded, backing away. Testing a theory. If the original waves were harmonies between worlds, not conflicts, then maybe we can. The scroll pulsed, and suddenly both Naruto and Glass were engulfed in swirling energy, his blue chakra and her purple spatial power intermingling. Where they touched, they didn't fight but resonated, creating patterns of light that spread outward. Throughout the city, the reality fluctuations slowed, then stabilized into a strange hybrid state. Buildings from both worlds remained visible but transparent, occupying the same space without conflict. Combatants from both sides found themselves unable to physically harm opponents from the other world, weapons passing through as if striking ghosts. What is this? Glass whispered, staring at her hand as it became partially translucent. Harmony, Naruto replied, equally astonished. The worlds in balance, neither destroying the other. The effect didn't last. After several minutes, reality reasserted itself, the world separating once more. But the wave energy had changed, becoming less violent, the rift above slowly beginning to close rather than expand. Glass stared at the retreating rift, then at Naruto. This, this was not supposed to be possible. But it happened, Naruto insisted. Which means there's a way to fix this without either world being destroyed. We just need to understand how. For a moment, indecision warred on Glass's face. Then her expression hardened once more. A temporary aberration, nothing more. My world cannot stake its survival on an untested theory. She raised her fan, but with less conviction than before. This changes nothing. We will return, and next time, we will not fail. With a final slashing motion, she tore open a portal and stepped through, her forces retreating alongside her. The rift above the capital sealed completely, leaving an exhausted city battered but intact. In the aftermath, as citizens emerged from shelters and began assessing damage, the heroes gathered in what remained of the central plaza. The other three kept their distance from Naruto, clearly unsettled by what they had witnessed. "What did you do?" Ren finally asked. "That wasn't like any hero technique I've seen." "I'm not entirely sure," Naruto admitted. "I think I found a way to temporarily harmonize the worlds instead of letting them fight for the same space." "Impossible," Motoyasu scoffed. "The waves are conflicts by nature. Worlds fighting for survival. Are they? Or is that just what we've been told?" Naruto looked meaningfully at Naofumi, who understood the reference to their secret knowledge about the original 6 heroes. Before the conversation could continue, royal knights surrounded them, led by the Pope himself rather than the king. "Heroes," he announced formally. "His Majesty requires your presence to debrief this unprecedented event." His eyes lingered on Naruto. "All heroes." Something in his tone set Naruto on edge, but with citizens watching and the city in disarray, creating conflict now would only cause more problems. They followed the knights back to the castle, where the throne room had been hastily repaired after suffering damage during the wave. The king awaited them, his expression unreadable. Princess Malti stood at his side, whispering in his ear as they entered. "The capital stands," the king began without preamble. "For that, the kingdom owes its heroes a debt of gratitude." He paused, his gaze fixing on Naruto. "However, questions remain about the nature of today's attack, specifically, its focus on the self-proclaimed sage hero." "Self-proclaimed?" Naruto repeated. "My weapon appeared just like the others. The status magic recognized me as the sage hero." "A system can be fooled," the Pope interjected. "What we witnessed today confirms our worst fears. Your presence destabilizes the very fabric of our world." Raphtalia stepped forward. "That's not true." Naruto helped stop the wave. "After attracting it directly to our capital," Princess Malti countered. "How convenient that he appeared to save us from a threat that targeted him specifically." Naruto recognized the political trap closing around him. They needed a scapegoat to explain the unprecedented attack, and he was the obvious choice. "Say what you're planning to say," he challenged the king directly. "Stop hiding behind implications." The king straightened on his throne. "Very well. By authority of the crown and with the blessing of the Church of the Three Heroes, you are hereby stripped of any recognition as a cardinal hero. Your weapon will be confiscated for study, and you will be confined until we determine how to safely return you to your world. And if I refuse? Then you will be treated as what you are, a threat to this kingdom's survival." The atmosphere in the throne room grew tense as knights moved to surround Naruto's group. The other heroes watched uncomfortably but made no move to intervene. Naruto assessed the situation quickly. Fighting here would endanger innocence and play into their narrative of him as a dangerous element. Yet surrender was equally unacceptable. "I have a counter-proposal," he said calmly. "I leave the capital voluntarily. My companions and I return to our sanctuary, harming no one but defending ourselves if attacked. You focus on preparing for the next wave instead of wasting resources fighting people who want to help." "Unacceptable," the Pope declared. "The heretical sage must be contained." "I wasn't asking permission," Naruto replied, his chakra beginning to visibly manifest around him. I was being courteous enough to tell you my intentions before acting on them. What happened next unfolded so quickly that most observers couldn't follow it. Naruto created a smoke bomb from his scroll, filling the throne room with thick clouds. By the time it cleared, he, Raphtalia, and Filo were gone, along with Naofumi, who had chosen to leave with them. "Find them," the king roared. "I want them captured before they leave the city." But they were already beyond the walls, Filo in her bird form carrying them at tremendous speed toward their sanctuary. By nightfall, they had reached the estate and begun preparations for what they knew would come next. "They'll send forces to capture us," Naofumi predicted as they gathered their most trusted allies. "Probably claim we've kidnapped civilians or some other false charge to justify it. Then we need to evacuate," Naruto decided. "Get everyone to safety before they arrive." Throughout the night, they prepared. The demi-humans who had found refuge with them packed essential supplies. Those with combat training organized defensive positions to cover the evacuation. Messengers were sent to sympathetic nobles, including Lord Reignat, warning of the situation. Dawn brought confirmation of their fears, scout reports of royal knights marshalling near the main road, joined by church militants in their distinctive white armor. At least 300, reported a raccoon demi-human who had observed them. Heavy weapons, siege equipment. "They're not coming to talk." Naruto gathered everyone in the central courtyard. "We have hours at most before they arrive. Anyone who wishes to leave now, find another path to safety, will understand." Not a single person stepped forward. Instead, a murmur of determination spread through the assembled refugees and volunteers. An elderly Tanuki woman, one of Raphtalia's village elders, spoke for many. "Where would we go? This is the only place that's treated us as people, not property. We stand with you, sage hero." Raphtalia squeezed Naruto's hand. "We've faced worse odds." Filo nodded vigorously. "Filo will protect everyone." Naruto looked at their determined faces, people who had found hope and purpose in the sanctuary they'd built together. He wouldn't abandon them, but neither would he lead them into a hopeless battle. "We're not fighting a conventional war," he announced. "We're going to disappear." His plan was audacious. Using his scroll's accumulated techniques combined with Naofumi's shield abilities, they would create a pocket dimension, a temporary refuge beyond the reach of Melromark's forces. The technique would require enormous power and concentration, but it would give them time to formulate a longer-term strategy. As the attacking forces appeared on the horizon, Naruto and Naofumi stood at the center of an intricate array of symbols drawn across the courtyard. Raphtalia and Filo directed the refugees to specific positions, each person forming a part of the massive technique. "Are you sure this will work?" Naofumi asked quietly. "This goes beyond any shield technique I've used before." "No," Naruto admitted. "But it's our best shot. Your shield creates absolute defense. My scroll adapts and transforms. Together, we're not just defending, we're creating a new space entirely." The approaching army came into clear view, their banners bearing both royal and church insignia. At their head rode the Pope himself, his ceremonial armor gleaming in the morning sun. "Heretics," his magically amplified voice carried across the distance. "Surrender the false sage and release your captives. This is your only warning." Naruto glanced at Raphtalia, who had taken position at the array's eastern point. Her eyes met his, filled with trust and determination. Filo, at the western point, gave an enthusiastic thumbs up, mimicking a gesture she'd learned from him. "Ready?" he called to everyone. Hundreds of voices answered in affirmation. "Then let's show them what happens when people stand together against tyranny. Everyone, channel your energy as we practiced." As the army began their charge, the courtyard blazed with light. Naruto's scroll unfurled completely, revealing text that had never been visible before, ancient symbols that resonated with Naofumi's shield. Together, they formed the final seal. Sage Art, Dimensional Sanctuary. The world around them rippled, then folded inward. To the attacking forces, it appeared as if the entire estate and all its occupants simply vanished, leaving nothing but empty grounds where a thriving sanctuary had stood moments before. Inside the created dimension, a new reality took shape, similar to their sanctuary but altered, existing in a space between worlds. Through viewing portals, they could observe Melromark while remaining untouchable. It worked, Raphtalia breathed, looking around in amazement at their new refuge. We're safe. For now, Naruto cautioned. This technique has limits. We can maintain it for perhaps a week before the energy requirements become too great. A week is time enough to plan our next move, Naofumi said. And to understand what really happened during that wave. As their people settled into the dimensional sanctuary, Naruto stood with Raphtalia and Filo, watching through a portal as the Pope's forces searched fruitlessly for them. You know what this means, he said quietly. We're not just refugees anymore. We're in open opposition to the church and crown. We were all ready, Raphtalia replied. They just hadn't admitted it yet. Filo will fight bad people, the young Filolial declared, pressing against Naruto's side. Protect Naruto and Raphtalia. Naruto smiled, putting one arm around each of them. We'll protect each other. And somehow, we'll find a way to fix what's broken, not just for us, but for all the worlds caught in these waves. As night fell over their dimensional sanctuary, stars unlike any in Melromark's sky shone down upon them, perhaps a glimpse of the world that should have been, had harmony prevailed over conflict. Naruto gazed up at the unfamiliar constellations, wondering if somewhere among them lay the answer to restoring the balance that had been lost so long ago. Whatever challenges awaited, he knew one thing with certainty: he was no longer alone. In Raphtalia, Filo, Naofumi, and all those who had joined their cause, he had found something he hadn't expected when first summoned to this world, a new family, bound not by blood but by choice and shared purpose. And for that, even facing exile and persecution, he couldn't help but feel grateful. Chapter 3, Hearts Entwined, Fates Unbound. The dimensional sanctuary shimmered at its edges, reality bending like heat waves on a summer road. 5 days had passed since their escape from the Pope's forces. 5 days of planning, training, and preparing for what would come next. Naruto stood atop a hill overlooking their transplanted community. Despite existing in a pocket between worlds, they'd created something remarkable here. Tents and makeshift structures housed over 300 refugees. Training fields buzzed with activity as demi-humans practiced chakra techniques. Gardens sprouted with accelerated growth thanks to specialized jutsu. Impressive, isn't it? Naofumi joined him, his shield now permanently upgraded to a form he called the Dimensions Shield after their joint technique. Yeah, Naruto agreed. But we can't stay here forever. The energy drain. Naruto nodded. I can feel it. 2 days, maybe 3 before we can't maintain the technique anymore. He rolled his shoulders, tension evident. We need a permanent solution before then. Lord Reignat sent word through that messenger bird. Naofumi held up a small scroll. He's secured a hidden valley in the mountains, technically outside Melromark's jurisdiction. It's part of a disputed territory with Siltvelt. The demi-human kingdom? Kingdom alliance, but yes. Not ideal, but better than nothing. Naruto considered this. It's a start. But I'm tired of running, Naofumi. These people deserve better than living as fugitives. Before Naofumi could respond, a small explosion echoed from the training field below. A young cat demi-human had apparently channeled too much chakra into what should have been a basic technique. Instead of panic, laughter spread through the group as an instructor, one of Naruto's shadow clones, helped the soot-covered trainee to his feet. Still can't believe you're teaching them all jutsu, Naofumi remarked. Back in my world, that would be like giving nuclear launch codes to civilians. That thinking is part of the problem, Naruto replied. Hoarding power instead of sharing it. The church, the nobles, they all want to control who has access to strength. He gestured toward the training field. Everyone deserves the ability to defend themselves, their families. Can't argue with that. A familiar voice called from behind them. Naruto. We found something. They turned to see Raphtalia approaching, excitement animating her features. The past weeks had changed her significantly. No longer the frightened girl from the slave market, she'd grown into a confident young woman, her swordsmanship now enhanced by increasingly advanced chakra techniques. The mapping team was exploring the edges of the dimension, she explained, catching her breath. They found ruins, buildings that shouldn't be here. They're ancient, covered in symbols like the ones on your scroll. Naruto's eyes widened. Take me there. The ruins occupied what should have been empty space at the sanctuary's northeastern boundary. Stone structures partially melded with the dimensional barrier itself, as if they'd existed in this in-between space all along. Symbols carved into weathered pillars matched the script that had appeared on Naruto's scroll during the dimensional transfer technique. It looks like a temple, Raphtalia said as they explored the crumbling architecture. Or a research facility, Naofumi suggested, examining an arrangement of stone tablets in what appeared to be a central chamber. These aren't just decorative, they're diagrams. Filo bounded up to them in her human form, having joined a different exploration team. Filo found shiny things. She proudly displayed a handful of crystal shards that pulsed with faint internal light. Careful with those, Naruto warned, taking one to examine. As his fingers closed around the crystal, his scroll reacted immediately, glowing with recognition. These are recording devices of some kind. He channeled chakra into the crystal, and suddenly the room filled with projected light. Ghostly images formed, figures in ancient clothing speaking in a language none of them recognized. Though the words were unfamiliar, their scroll translated portions into text that hovered in the air. Project Harmony, Dimensional Resonance. Cardinal Heroes System. Naruto read aloud. This is research data about the waves. For hours, they activated crystal after crystal, piecing together fragments of knowledge from what appeared to be records left by ancient researchers. The picture that emerged was staggering, and confirmed what Lady Reignat had theorized. The waves weren't originally destructive, Naruto summarized as they gathered their findings. They were controlled convergences, allowing multiple worlds to share knowledge and resources. The Cardinal Heroes were never meant to fight the waves, Naofumi added. They were meant to regulate them, to ensure balance during these controlled interactions. Raphtalia studied one of the diagrams they'd found. 6 heroes, not 4. 3 focused on power, sword, spear, and bow. 3 focused on harmony, shield, sage, and star. But something went wrong, Filo said, showing surprising insight. The bad people broke it. Exactly, Naruto nodded. According to these records, a faction gained control of the system centuries ago. They modified it, erasing the Harmony heroes from records and reprogramming the wave mechanism itself. To what end? Raphtalia asked. Power. Naofumi's voice was bitter. By corrupting the system to favor certain worlds over others, they could control access to resources, knowledge, even territory. The Church of the Three Heroes, Naruto realized. They're not just named that because they excluded the shield hero from worship. They literally reprogrammed the system to recognize only 3 heroes as legitimate. They continued exploring the ruins, discovering what appeared to be a control center deep within the temple complex. Ancient machinery, dormant for centuries, hummed faintly when they approached. This is beyond me, Naofumi admitted, studying the incomprehensible technology. It's like finding a nuclear reactor when you've only seen steam engines. Filo approached one of the central pedestals, her head tilted curiously. This one feels warm. Without warning, she placed her hand on it. The entire chamber surged with light. Dormant systems activated in cascading sequence, and a holographic display materialized above the central platform, a 3-dimensional map of interconnected worlds, pulsing with energy flows. Filo. Raphtalia scolded. Don't touch things without, no, wait, Naruto interrupted, studying the display. This is exactly what we needed. It's showing the current state of the wave system. The map revealed multiple worlds connected by energy pathways, most of which appeared damaged or distorted. At certain junction points, the pathways collapsed completely, the destructive waves they had experienced. But at the center of the display, something unexpected appeared, a representation of their current pocket dimension, glowing with unusual stability. We're not just hiding between worlds, Naruto realized. We accidentally created a stabilization point, a buffer between colliding realities. Can we use this? Raphtalia asked, hope evident in her voice. Maybe. Naruto examined the controls, his scroll automatically translating symbols. If we could replicate this effect on a larger scale. Their discovery renewed their purpose. Over the next day, they worked feverishly to understand the ancient system, using Naruto's scroll to translate documents and interface with the technology. Others joined the effort, demi-humans with scholarly backgrounds, Naofumi with his analytical mind, and surprisingly, Filo, whose intuitive understanding of the dimensional energies proved invaluable. As they worked, Raphtalia found moments to observe Naruto, his unwavering determination, his kindness when explaining complex concepts to others, the way his eyes lit up when discovering something new. Her feelings, growing steadily since he'd freed her, had become impossible to ignore. During a rare break, she found herself alone with him atop the temple, watching the strange stars of their pocket dimension. Do you think we can really fix this? She asked. The entire wave system seems so vast, and we're just a bunch of outcasts and refugees? Naruto smiled. That's exactly why we'll succeed. The people who broke this system never imagined someone outside their power structure would access this knowledge. Raphtalia hesitated, then moved slightly closer. After all this, if we survive, what then? We build something better. Naruto gazed at the community they'd created. A place where demi-humans, humans, anyone can live without fear. Where strength comes from protecting others, not dominating them. And us? The question slipped out before she could stop it. I mean, you, me, and Filo. What happens to us? Naruto turned to face her, something unreadable in his expression. Raphtalia. A shout from below interrupted them. Naruto. The barriers weakening faster than we predicted. The moment broken, they rushed back to the control center. The dimensional pocket was indeed collapsing, not in days as they'd estimated, but hours. The strain of maintaining such a space had accelerated beyond their calculations. We need to evacuate, Naofumi urged. Lord Reignat's Valley, no, Naruto decided. We're not running anymore. Not when we're this close to understanding. He studied the holographic display. The next natural wave is due soon. If we can interface with it using this technology, maybe we can begin restoring the original system. You want to intentionally interact with a wave? Raphtalia asked incredulously. Not just interact, redirect it. Naruto indicated specific points on the display. If we can channel its energy through this facility, we might be able to transform it from destructive to harmonious. The plan was audacious, perhaps insane. But with their sanctuary collapsing and the knowledge they'd gained, they had few alternatives. Preparations began immediately, the entire community mobilizing under Naruto and Naofumi's leadership. As they worked, Naruto pulled Filo aside, kneeling to meet her eyes. I have a special job for you. If things go wrong, I need you to lead the evacuation. Get everyone to Lord Reignat's Valley. But Filo wants to stay with Naruto, she protested, her lower lip trembling. And I want you with me, he said gently. But sometimes protecting those we care about means making hard choices. Filo's blue eyes, so often filled with childlike wonder, suddenly seemed older, wiser. Naruto cares about Filo. Of course I do. He ruffled her blonde hair affectionately. Your family. The word seemed to strike her powerfully. Family. She straightened, her usual energy tempered by newfound resolve. Filo will do her job. For family. As she bounded away to help with preparations, Naruto felt a familiar presence behind him. That was well handled, Naofumi said. She listens to you more than anyone. She's growing up fast, Naruto replied. Too fast, maybe. That's what happens in war. Naofumi's expression darkened. Make no mistake, that's what this is. Not just against the church or Melromark, but against whoever corrupted this system centuries ago. I know. Naruto watched as their people worked with determined efficiency. But we have something they don't. What's that? Something worth fighting for. The collapse accelerated. By nightfall, sections of their dimensional sanctuary were already failing, reality bleeding through in unstable patches. Through viewing portals, they could see search parties still combing the area where their estate had stood. 2 hours, maybe less, Naofumi estimated, monitoring the barrier integrity. The waves due in 3, according to the system's predictions. Then we cut it close. Naruto turned to the assembled community leaders. Begin Phase 1 evacuation. Non-essential personnel and anyone not directly involved in the operation should head for the fallback position. Reluctantly, families began moving toward the designated exit point, a section of barrier they'd specifically thinned to allow passage back to Melromark. From there, guides would lead them through hidden paths to Lord Reignat's territory. Raphtalia supervised the evacuation, her sword drawn and senses alert for any sign of enemy forces beyond. Though they'd chosen a remote exit point, far from the searching knights, danger remained ever present. As the evacuation proceeded, the temple's systems continued to degrade. Holographic displays flickered, power fluctuations rippled through ancient machinery. We're losing control integration, one of the demi-human technicians reported. The system's rejecting external inputs. Naruto approached the central pedestal where Filo had initially activated the system. It needs a direct connection to a hero. The original operators were probably heroes themselves. He placed his scroll directly onto the pedestal, channeling chakra through it. The response was immediate, system stabilized, displays brightened, and the temple itself seemed to hum with renewed purpose. That's buying us time, he said. But we still need to solve the core problem. In the control room, Naofumi studied the wave predictions with growing concern. There's something odd about this next wave. Its signature is different, stronger, more focused. Glass, Naruto realized. She's coming back, just like she promised. The evacuation continued as they worked, the technical team racing to understand enough of the ancient system to implement their plan. Outside, Raphtalia reported the last of the non-combatants had safely departed. Only the operational team remains, she said, returning to Naruto's side. And those who refused to leave. Refused? Naruto looked up from his work. Who? A large group of demi-humans stood in the doorway of the control room, led by several he recognized from their training programs. We're staying, announced a fox demi-human who had become one of their most promising chakra students. This is our fight too. It's too dangerous, Naruto began, but the determination in their eyes stopped him. These weren't the broken slaves and refugees they'd first rescued. They were warriors now, standing tall with purpose. You taught us to protect what matters, said another, a bare demi-human whose village had been destroyed in a wave. This matters. We stay. Naruto looked at them, then slowly nodded. All right. But you follow orders exactly. No heroics. As they integrated the volunteers into their defense plan, the dimensional barrier continued deteriorating. Through widening gaps, they could see Melromark's normal sky, now darkening as wave energy gathered. 1 hour until wave manifestation, Naofumi reported. Our barrier won't last that long. Then we accelerate. Naruto turned to the technical team. Prepare for emergency transition. We're going to drop the barrier on our terms and immediately activate the redirection protocol. The plan was desperate but their only option. By deliberately collapsing their pocket dimension in a controlled manner, they could channel its remaining energy into the ancient temple systems, potentially giving them enough power to influence the incoming wave. Everyone to positions. Naruto called. Naofumi, shield team on the perimeter. Raphtalia, defense squads at all entrances. Filo stays with Naruto, the young Filolial declared, her expression brooking no argument. To help with the big magic. Looking at her determined face, Naruto couldn't refuse. All right. You're with me at the central control. As preparations reached their final stage, Raphtalia approached Naruto once more. Something in her manner, a new resolve, caught his attention. Before we do this, she said, voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes, there's something I need to tell you. Raphtalia, we don't have much time, that's why I need to say it now. She took a deep breath. I love you, Naruto. Not as the person who saved me, or as a hero, but as you. Whatever happens today, I wanted you to know that. Naruto stared at her, momentarily speechless. Before he could respond, Filo bounded up to them. Raphtalia loves Naruto, she asked, head tilted curiously. Like family? Raphtalia's cheeks flushed. Something like that, Filo. But different too. Filo considered this, then nodded decisively. Filo understands. Filo loves Naruto too. She wrapped her arms around him in a tight hug. Different from Raphtalia, but still big love. The simple declaration, so earnest and pure, broke the tension. Naruto laughed, embracing them both. Your timing is terrible, you know that? His expression softened. But I wouldn't have it any other way. The moment was interrupted by a shout from the monitoring station. Wave energy accelerating. Impact in 30 minutes. Reality reasserted itself. They had a world to save, and precious little time to do it. We'll talk more after, Naruto promised them both. All of us. With final preparations complete, they gathered at the central control. Naruto and Filo positioned at the main pedestal, Naofumi at the shield integration point, and Raphtalia commanding the defense teams. On my mark, Naruto called, scroll unfurling fully as he channeled massive amounts of chakra. 3, 2, 1. Now. The dimensional barrier collapsed with controlled precision. Reality rushed in like a tidal wave, the temple transitioning back to physical space atop a mountain where no structure had stood moments before. Above them, the sky split open as the wave began forming, a massive rift pulsing with the now familiar sickly energy. But this time, they were ready. The temple systems, powered by the collapsing dimension's energy and Naruto's continuous chakra feed, locked onto the wave formation. Ancient machinery hummed to life, projecting a counterfield that interacted with the wave energy. It's working. Naofumi called, his shield glowing as it interfaced with the system. The wave pattern is changing. The rift above them transformed, its chaotic energy reorganizing into structured patterns. Instead of the usual violent tear in reality, it began to resemble a controlled portal, still massive, still powerful, but no longer purely destructive. Dimensional harmonization at 40%, reported a technician. Stability increasing. Through the stabilizing rift, they could see another world, Glass's world, with its floating islands and crystalline structures. And at the center of the portal, a familiar figure emerged. You surprise me yet again, sage hero, Glass said as she descended toward the temple. This time, however, she came alone, without armies or monsters. What have you done to the wave? We're fixing what was broken, Naruto replied, maintaining his connection to the system. Restoring the original purpose of the waves, harmony between worlds, not destruction. Glass landed atop the temple, her fan closed but ready. Impossible. That knowledge was lost centuries ago. Not lost, Naofumi corrected, indicating the ancient facility around them. Hidden by the same people who corrupted the system in the first place. Glass studied them, then the transforming wave above. Her expression showed conflicting emotions, hope battling with suspicion, desperation with caution. Even if what you say is true, she finally said, it comes too late. My world cannot withstand another failed convergence. We need certainty, not theories. Then help us. Naruto urged. With your understanding of your world's energies and our knowledge of this system, we can stabilize both worlds. For a moment, it seemed Glass might agree. Then a new complication arrived, royal knights cresting the hill below, led by Princess Malti and the Pope himself. There they are. Malti's voice carried across the distance. The heretics who stole the kingdom's property and kidnapped its citizens. Destroy that abomination they've created, the Pope commanded, pointing toward the temple. It blasphemes against the true heroes. Knights and church militants charged uphill toward them, while above, the partially stabilized wave fluctuated dangerously. We're losing harmonic control, a technician warned. The system needs more power to complete the transformation. Naruto made a split-second decision. Naofumi, take over here. Keep the system running with your shield. Raphtalia, Filo, with me. He leapt from the control center to the temple's outer perimeter, Raphtalia and Filo flanking him. Below, their demi-human defenders engaged the first wave of attackers, chakra techniques flashing against conventional weapons. What about Glass? Raphtalia asked, eyeing the woman who still stood watching the unfolding chaos. She'll make her own choice, Naruto replied. Right now, we need to protect the temple until the wave stabilizes completely. The three of them moved with practiced coordination, descending the temple steps to meet the attacking forces. Naruto created shadow clones to bolster their defenders, while Raphtalia unleashed wind-enhanced blade techniques that cut through enemy formations. Filo transformed between forms as needed, her bird shape scattering knights with powerful gusts, her human form delivering precision strikes. The Pope, seeing their effectiveness, stepped forward himself. Enough of this farce. He raised what appeared to be a simple ceremonial scepter, which suddenly transformed into a massive, ornate weapon combining elements of sword, spear, and bow. The replica, he announced, the weapon glowing with unnatural light. Blessed with the essence of the three true heroes' weapons. No heretic can stand against its divine power. He unleashed a blast of energy that tore through Naruto's shadow clones and sent defenders flying. The attack continued toward the temple itself, threatening to destroy their work. No. Naruto moved faster than thought, appearing in the path of the energy beam. His scroll unfurled fully, absorbing the attack rather than blocking it. Sage Scroll Technique, Energy Redirection. The scroll glowed white-hot as it processed the massive energy input, then channeled it upward toward the wave portal. The additional power surge hit the ancient system at precisely the right moment, accelerating the harmonization process. Above them, the wave transformed completely. What had been a destructive rift became a stable bridge between worlds, glowing with golden light that spread outward in healing waves. Where this energy touched, reality itself seemed to mend, plants grew, damaged structures repaired, wounded fighters on both sides found their injuries healing. The Pope stared upward in horror. What have you done? The divine confluence is returning to what it should have been all along, Naruto finished, standing firm despite the strain of redirecting such powerful energy. Not destruction. Creation. Glass, who had observed the battle without interfering, now descended to stand beside Naruto. You've done it, she said, wonder in her voice. The harmonization is genuine. From within the temple, Naofumi called out, system reaching full harmonization. Dimensional bridge stabilizing. The fighting below faltered as both sides witnessed the transformation. The golden light continued spreading, and where it touched the Pope's replica weapon, the artificial construction began to unravel. No, he cried, trying to maintain his grip on the dissolving weapon. This is blasphemy. The 3 heroes alone are divine. You're wrong, Naruto replied. There were always 6. Your predecessors corrupted the truth to control power that was meant to be shared. With a final surge of energy, the wave completed its transformation. The portal above stabilized into a permanent bridge, smaller than the initial rift, but solid and controlled. Through it, they could see Glass's world clearly, and remarkably, citizens from both sides cautiously approaching the connection, wonder on their faces. The Pope's replica weapon disintegrated completely, leaving him clutching empty air. Without its power, the church militants faltered, many lowering their weapons in confusion or awe at what they witnessed. Princess Malti, seeing her advantage vanish, attempted to rally the knights. Don't be fooled by this illusion. Attack the heretics. But her words fell on increasingly deaf ears as the evidence before them contradicted everything they'd been taught about the waves. The golden energy washing over the battlefield made aggression itself difficult to maintain, its harmonizing effect subtly influencing emotions as well as physical reality. With the immediate threat diminishing, Naruto turned to Glass. Your world is safe now. This connection won't destroy either reality, it will strengthen both. She studied him intently, then nodded once. It seems I misjudged you, sage hero. And perhaps the potential of cooperation itself. She glanced toward the stabilized portal. My people will approach cautiously, but they will approach. After generations of fear, hope is unfamiliar territory. Hope takes practice, Naruto grinned. We've got plenty to share. The Pope, seeing his forces wavering, made a desperate final attempt. Drawing a concealed weapon, he lunged not at Naruto but at Raphtalia, who had moved to check on injured defenders. If the system requires 6 heroes, then denying even one companion will break the cycle, he screamed, blade aimed at her heart. Naruto moved with blinding speed, but Filo was faster. Transforming in an instant, she intercepted the attack with her wing, deflecting the blade. In the same motion, Raphtalia spun and struck with the flat of her sword, disarming the Pope with a precision blow. It's over, Naruto told the fallen religious leader. The truth is out now. The waves are returning to their original purpose. Princess Malti, seeing no path to victory, signaled a retreat. The royal forces withdrew, though many knights lingered, clearly conflicted about what they had witnessed. Some even removed their helmets in a gesture of surrender or respect. As the golden light continued spreading, the ancient temple fully reactivated, systems humming with purpose for the first time in centuries. From within, Naofumi emerged, exhausted but triumphant. The harmonization is complete, he reported. And there's more. The system is showing additional connection points, other worlds affected by the waves. We can extend the stabilization to them too. The full restoration will take time, Glass added. Centuries of corruption cannot be undone in a day. But the pattern is established now. It will grow stronger with each successful connection. Around them, their community regrouped. Injured were tended to, defenses reassessed. Through the portal, cautious representatives from Glass's world approached, opening tentative communication. In the aftermath, as diplomatic discussions began between worlds long separated by fear, Naruto found a quiet moment with Raphtalia and Filo atop the temple roof. You saved me, Raphtalia said to Filo, gently touching the Philolial's wing where she had blocked the Pope's attack. Thank you. Filo protects family, she replied simply, shifting back to human form and nestling between them. Like Naruto taught. The mention of his name brought Raphtalia's attention back to their interrupted conversation from before the battle. About what I said earlier. Naruto took her hand, his expression serious but warm. I heard you. And I should have said it sooner, I love you too, Raphtalia. Her eyes widened. You do. How could I not? Your courage, your kindness, your strength, you're amazing in every way. Filo looked between them, then tugged at Naruto's sleeve. What about Filo? That's complicated, Naruto admitted, looking into her hopeful blue eyes. Your family, absolutely. And I love you too, just differently. Because Filo is too young, she asked with surprising perception. Partly. But also because each connection is unique. What I feel for Raphtalia, for you, for everyone in our community, it's all love, just different kinds. Filo considered this, then nodded. Filo understands. Filo loves Naruto like. She searched for words. Like the sun loves the sky. Always there, always important. The simple poetry of her statement touched them both. Raphtalia smiled, wrapping an arm around Filo. That's beautiful, Filo. And very wise. We're a strange family, Naruto acknowledged, looking between them. Brought together by bizarre circumstances. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. As night fell, they remained together, watching stars appear above the newly harmonized worlds. The portal glowed softly, a promise of connection rather than conflict. Below, their community began establishing more permanent structures around the temple, no longer refugees but founders of something new. What happens now? Raphtalia asked softly. With the church, the kingdom. Change, Naruto replied. It's already starting. The truth about the 6 heroes, about the wave's true purpose, it undermines the entire foundation of their power structure. They'll fight back, she pointed out. The Pope may be defeated, but the church remains powerful. Let them come, Naruto said, not with bravado but with quiet confidence. We're not alone anymore. We have allies in multiple worlds now. He gestured toward where glass could be seen conferring with Naofumi and representatives from both worlds. They believed they could keep people divided, afraid of each other. But connection is more powerful than fear. Filo yawned, leaning sleepily against his shoulder. Filo likes our new home. It feels right. It does, Raphtalia agreed, her hand finding Naruto's. Like we were meant to be here all along. In the days that followed, word spread rapidly throughout Melromark and beyond. Pilgrims began arriving, curious citizens, skeptical scholars, even disillusioned church acolytes seeking truth. Each witnessed the harmonized wave portal, the cooperation between worlds once thought destined to destroy each other. They established a true sanctuary around the temple, not just for demi-humans, but for anyone seeking knowledge or peace. Naruto's training programs expanded, teaching chakra techniques alongside traditional magic and combat skills. Naofumi developed trading systems between connected worlds, while glass facilitated cultural exchange. Reports arrived of upheaval in the capital. The king, facing mounting questions about the church's centuries of deception, had called for a formal inquiry. Princess Malti had mysteriously disappeared, rumored to have fled to neighboring kingdoms. The other cardinal heroes, after witnessing the transformation of the wave system, had requested to visit the sanctuary and learn the truth firsthand. 1 month after the harmonization, they received unexpected visitors. Lady Ryuknot arrived with her father and a scholarly delegation. Among their documents was a partially restored text they believed contained information about the missing 6th hero, the Star Hero. The record suggests the Star Hero's weapon drew power from connections between people, Lady Ryuknot explained as they examined the ancient text in the temple's library. While the sage learns from the world itself, the star derives strength from bonds with others. That sounds familiar, Naofumi remarked, glancing meaningfully at Naruto. The text also mentions a prophecy, Lord Ryuknot added. That in the time of greatest need, when worlds hang in the balance, the Star Hero will emerge from among those already fighting. As they discussed the implications, Filo burst into the library, excitement radiating from her. Naruto! Something's happening at the portal. They rushed to the central plaza where the dimensional bridge connected their worlds. A crowd had gathered, watching as the portal's energy shifted in unusual patterns. Through the connection, they could see similar gatherings on Glass's side. The harmonic frequency is changing, Glass observed, having become a regular presence in their sanctuary. Expanding. Before their eyes, the portal's golden energy coalesced into new patterns, star-shaped configurations that spread outward, connecting to points throughout both worlds. Where these energy stars touched, smaller portals opened, creating a network of connections. "It's beautiful," Raphtalia whispered, standing close to Naruto. "Like a constellation connecting everything." As they watched the transformation, Naruto felt a strange resonance within his scroll. It unfurled without his command, glowing with symbols that matched the star patterns forming above. Simultaneously, Naofumi's shield reacted similarly, as did something within Glass's fan. "The remaining heroes," she breathed. "The system is searching for them." A pulse of energy swept through the gathering, touching each person present. Most felt only a gentle warmth, but when it reached Raphtalia, she gasped as light suddenly emanated from her chest. "What's happening?" she asked, eyes wide as a small star-shaped crystal materialized before her. The sixth weapon, Naofumi realized. The star crest. The crystal hovered before Raphtalia for a moment, then gently settled into her hands. As she touched it, the crystal transformed, taking the shape of a medallion that hung from a chain around her neck. "I don't understand," she said, touching it wonderingly. "Why me?" "Because you embody what the star hero represents," Naruto answered, suddenly certain. Connection. Compassion. The ability to bring people together. The star crest glowed brighter at his words, and energy flowed from it to connect with Naruto's scroll, Naofumi's shield, and surprisingly, something within Filo as well. Lines of golden light linked them, forming a perfect six-pointed star. "The sixth point," Glass noted. "It was divided, not missing. Between the three of you, the star hero exists." The revelation settled over them as the network of portals stabilized, creating permanent pathways between points in all connected worlds. The system had found its balance again, not through one hero, but through shared power and purpose. In the months that followed, their sanctuary grew into something unprecedented, a junction point between worlds, governed not by conquest or domination but by cooperation. Representatives from multiple realities established diplomatic ties. Knowledge and resources flowed freely through the network of portals. The destructive waves ceased entirely, replaced by scheduled harmonizations that strengthened the connections rather than threatening them. Naruto, Raphtalia, and Filo remained at the heart of this new reality. Their relationship evolved into something unique, a family bound by choice and circumstance, their love for each other transcending conventional definitions. Raphtalia's role as part of the Star Hero manifestation gave her new purpose, while Filo continued to surprise everyone with her growth and insights. One evening, a year after their initial harmonization, they stood together on the sanctuary's highest point, watching the network of portals glimmer like actual stars in the night sky. Below them, the community thrived, humans and demi-humans working alongside visitors from other worlds, children playing in safely contained training fields, scholars studying in the expanded temple complex. "Did you ever imagine this?" Raphtalia asked, her star crest glowing gently against her chest. "When you first arrived in this world?" "Not even close," Naruto admitted with a laugh. "I just wanted to get back to my ramen." "Ramen is good," Filo agreed solemnly. She had grown over the year, her human form now resembling a teenager rather than a child. "But this is better." "Much better," Naruto agreed, putting an arm around each of them. "Although I still miss ramen sometimes." "Lord Reignat scholars think they might be able to create a portal to your original world someday," Raphtalia said. "Once they understand the network better. You could go home." Naruto looked at the thriving sanctuary, at the woman and the extraordinary being beside him, at the worlds they'd helped connect and heal. "I already am home." Above them, a new star pattern formed in the network, a smaller but distinct configuration that connected their sanctuary to yet another world previously thought lost to the wave destruction. Each new connection strengthened the whole, healing damage done centuries before. "Look," Filo pointed upward. "Another world joining the constellation." Naruto smiled, feeling the scroll resonate with the expanding network. The more connections, the stronger we all become. That's the lesson we had to learn. Connection, Raphtalia agreed, her hand finding his as the star crest glowed in harmony with the new pathway forming above. Family, Filo added, leaning against them both as they watched the new world join their growing network of light. Together they stood, three unlikely heroes who had changed the fate of multiple worlds not through conquest or power, but through something far more revolutionary, the simple, radical belief that differences could be strengths, that boundaries could become bridges, that love itself could rewrite destiny. The night sky above them shimmered with countless portals, each a testament to what they had accomplished together. Not just surviving the waves, but transforming them. Not just fighting for a single world, but connecting many. Not just existing as hero and companions, but thriving as something far more profound, hearts entwined, fates unbound, creating a future limited only by imagination and bound together by love. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.